This is Adam Graham from Pretty Much the Present, bringing you a week of old-time radio podcasts. These episodes were originally released back in 2011, and we're releasing them here pretty much as is, with only some extraneous bits such as the opening from all of the episodes after the first episode removed. Because these are old, it should be noted that any offers or promotions mentioned in the episode may not be valid unless they're currently mentioned on the Great Detectives website. Here now is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Be sure to cast your vote for the show on Podcast Alley, podcastalley.greatdetectives.net, and follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives. Well, before we do get started, I want to encourage you to be sure and enjoy all the articles we post at greatdetectives.net. We post 1 to 2 every week. And they include reviews of books. We've been doing a lot of Nero Wolfe book reviews, but we also reviewed Columbo Collection and a Father Brown book as well. And some history of some great old radio programs, many of which forgotten, such as The Family Doctor, The Adventures of Babe Ruth. You can enjoy all of these for free at greatdetectives.net. And you can also have them automatically delivered to your Kindle. And you can try that service out free for 2 weeks. Well, today's episode is entitled Death and the Purple Cow. Enjoy.
William Gargan stars as Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Murderers rarely have many friends. People can't keep up with them. You see, folks, they set such a killing pace.
The National Broadcasting Company presents William Gargan in another transcribed drama of mystery and adventure with America's #1 detective, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator.
Barrie Craig speaking. In my business, a guy doesn't have many friends. We know too much about people. The wrong kind of things and maybe the wrong kind of people. Or are there any different kinds? I wouldn't know the answer to that one. But after time enough and jobs enough, about the only thing the investigator can be sure is clean is his license, if he keeps it under glass. The hours are lousy, too. Hello, Willie.
Evening, Mr. Craig. You want some coffee?
In Willie's wagon?
Lay off the cracks. It looks like coffee. It smells like coffee.
And it tastes like sulfuric acid. I'll have a cup.
Thanks. How about some nourishment?
I'll have a couple of donuts instead.
A couple? What do you think I am, a weightlifter? Just watch your teeth working on them. Hey, you on a job?
No.
Well, then what's keeping you up this late?
Your coffee, mostly.
You didn't have any before you walked in here.
I can dream, can't I? Besides...
Yeah?
I felt like company. Private eye gets tired of his own thoughts pretty quick.
Why don't you quit thinking? I did 6 years ago. I've been a happy man since. Business. What'll it be, Bud?
Does it have to be anything?
I seen one of those before.
Back up. Against the wall, huh?
Sure.
Hold it, Craig.
The personal touch?
Just sit there. Work on your donuts and coffee.
I eat just as well without a gun.
That's to keep you quiet, not stimulate your appetite.
Thanks for explaining. Why do I have to be quiet?
I want it that way.
Uh-huh. This Keep Craig Quiet Week?
Yeah. I just passed the resolution.
In a little while, I'm going to get sleepy.
Don't let it bother you.
My point is, do I have to be quiet only in Willie's wagon, or can I go be quiet at home?
Greg,
Yeah?
I tried for you at your office first. The elevator man told me you'd probably be here.
Jake's a prophet.
Anybody else comes calling for you, the elevator man will tell him the same thing.
You make it sound like a procession visiting Craig at midnight. Business isn't that good.
Not a procession. One customer.
You could give him a name?
Sure.
And when he gets here, what happens?
I discourage him about consulting you.
You reason with him?
I discourage him.
Hey, Bud, how about me sitting down?
You got a seat back at the counter?
No, but there's one in the kitchen.
Also a telephone?
I ain't checked recent.
Keep leaning against the wall.
This customer of mine, suppose he looks in here before he pushes the door open.
So?
He'll spot you.
That's all right.
Look, if I'm going to stay awake, I'll need more coffee.
You.
Yeah?
Mr. Craig wants some more coffee.
Okay. There's your coffee, Mr. Craig.
Thanks. Well, it's an awful slow client I'm supposed to have.
You'll be along.
Maybe you frighten him off tonight. What happens tomorrow?
People run out of tomorrows sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, that could be him. Stay put, boys.
I could use a client.
Not this one. He won't be any use at all.
Too bad. Hey, Willie, what'd you put in this cup?
Huh?
Tastes more like concentrated lye than coffee.
Shut up.
It's an insult, not coffee. Here, you try it. It was hot, wasn't it? I'll take the gun now. What the? Those shots came from the door. Yeah. Car took the corner on a couple of wheels. Couldn't spot the license.
That guy's bleeding all over the floor.
Yeah. No. He'll stop in a little while, Willie. No more blood.
Yeah?
Yeah, his heart isn't pumping it anymore. The coffee I'd spilled in his face caked before the cops got to Willie's. It made him look very untidy.
The deceased's name was John Largo, Mr. Craig.
Thanks for telling me, Lieutenant Rogers.
It would appear he was an executive from St. Louis.
You mean executioner?
A little early for indulging in theory, Barrie.
Not theory. The guy announced his job.
The announcement was perhaps ambiguous. Largo was versatile. The numbers, jewels, slot machine.
Okay, Trav. I know about a police officer's keeping his mind open. Must be drafty, though.
Barrie,
Yeah?
according to your report, Largo intended to discourage a client of yours.
That's right.
Which client?
A client who hadn't hired me yet.
But who had indicated he might.
Trav, all these questions will maybe look good on a report, but I've told you all I know.
I'm not happy about it.
Well, maybe if I'd gone to college like you, I'd know more. The way it is...
Now, you mustn't hold that college degree against me, Barrie.
I forgive you.
Any psychiatrist will tell you it was my mother's fault. But I've got to bring something in for the captain.
Isn't a fresh corpse enough? Trav let me go after a while. It had been a dull night. Willie's wagon was lousy with the press, and Trav had to concentrate on the department's public relations. I started for home, made a detour, and headed for the office on Madison Avenue. Jake would still be on duty, making sure nobody stole the building. Jake. Jake.
Any cow wants to get milk, she can come to me. I ain't going out in the middle of the night.
Jake, you're not on the farm anymore.
What? Oh, too bad.
You should have stayed up in Vermont.
No, I got tired of it.
Why?
Too close to New Hampshire. I've been kind of expecting you.
Yeah, I noticed your wide eyes. Jake, a little over an hour ago, a small, fair-haired man was here asking for me.
Yeah, I remember him. I told him you was out getting poisoned over at Willie's. Did he find you?
He found me. What I'm more interested in is the second person who asked for me tonight.
I don't blame you.
What?
I said I don't blame you.
Must be your Vermont accent. Never mind blaming. That second person was a client.
I know that.
That client of mine, from the looks of things, committed murder a half hour ago.
Your office must be getting pretty crowded.
My office. Jake, didn't you tell my client where I was?
Client didn't ask. Preferred to wait in your office.
In my... Oh, that's what you meant about it getting crowded.
Yeah.
But the murder didn't take place in my office. Not the one I'm talking about, anyway.
That's nice. Makes less work for the cleaning women.
But in that case... Never mind. Take me upstairs.
Yep. Going up?
Where else would I be going?
I don't know. Them's my instructions. Always ask the passenger which direction he's going.
Jake, what kind of a man was he?
Who's that?
The one up in my office.
Well, up in Vermont, we wouldn't call him a man.
You wouldn't?
No.
What would you call him?
A girl.
This wasn't my night for appearing smart. I stared at Jake with my mouth open until we reached the third floor. By that time, I managed to get it shut. Jake went back downstairs. I went down the hall to my office and went in. And discovered that we'd call her a girl in New York, too.
Mr. Craig?
Yeah? Sorry I kept you waiting.
Oh, that's all right. After all, you didn't know I was waiting for you, did you?
I guess I didn't.
Well, I was.
You had an idea about hiring me?
Actually, it was my brother's idea.
I see.
Oh, that is, I'm Sally Marlin. My brother is Donald Marlin.
It figures.
You're laughing at me?
No.
I wouldn't like you to, even though I'm not doing this very well.
Exactly what are you doing?
Oh, explaining. Donald's in trouble.
The world isn't doing too well either.
Are you trying to make me angry?
Yeah.
Why?
Maybe you'll get around to telling me why you're here.
My brother Donald has been in trouble ever since he came back. He thought perhaps he might hire a good private detective who would help him. And for some reason that I can't understand, he decided to hire you.
Thanks. Then why didn't he come here?
He was afraid to leave the house.
He sent you instead?
Yes.
What kind of trouble is he in?
Well, the kind of trouble where he might get murdered.
Usually a man in that kind of trouble goes to the cops.
Donald can't.
Why not?
Well, he doesn't want to get into the papers. Things like that.
He's shy?
Mm-hmm.
Good night, Miss Marlin. When it comes to protection, a private eye can't come within a couple of light years of the cops. Nobody afraid of being killed was ever that shy.
Well, I'm sorry. It's because of the purple cow.
The one nobody's ever seen?
Oh, no. No, this one is a little statue of a cow made out of purple glass.
How much is it worth?
Well, it's kind of an antique, and...
Your brother has it, but neglected to get legal title to it?
Something like that. That's why he can't go to the police.
I'll have to see him.
Oh, of course. We live at 39 Barchester.
39 Barchester.
Mm-hmm. Donald gave me some money to... Well, I guess it's called a retainer.
Uh-huh.
$200.
We'll consider it a retainer.
I guess it's too late tonight for you to see Donald, but the first thing in the morning, Mr. Craig?
The first thing in the morning.
Then, good night.
Good night. Miss Marlin.
Yes?
You said your brother had been in trouble ever since he came back.
Uh-huh.
Ever since he came back from where?
Why, St. Louis, Mr. Craig. St. Louis.
The dead Mr. Largo had also been from St. Louis. I crossed to the door and opened it. Sally Marlin was waiting for the elevator. Jake would have his troubles waking up. The elevator would have its troubles climbing all the way up to the third floor. I used the back stairs. By the time Sally Marlin would make it to the lobby and the street, I ought to be ready for her, in my car halfway down the block. I was. She used a cab. And we went riding. It wasn't a long ride. Her cab slowed down and stopped. I stopped. She paid the cabbie off and went inside. The cab scrammed. I started up. I drove past the place she'd gone into and memorized the address. It was not 39 Barchester. "39 Barchester was way over on the west side of town. Maybe Sally Marlin had stopped off at the other address for a drink. You can get drinks at the Club 44, not to mention a ringside seat at a roulette game, a hand at poker, or a thug for hire. Maybe Sally Marlin had been thirsty. I didn't stop at 39. The man in a creased hat and a bulging overcoat was trying too much to look like the local scenery. I cut around the block and wondered. There'd be an alley leading to the back of 39 Barchester. There was. There was a man there, too, making like an ash can. I parked on the next block and took a walk. I was going to have trouble visiting my client. I decided to have trouble in the alley. More privacy than out front. Hey, Bud.
Huh?
Got a match?
Sure.
Thanks.
Forget it.
How's life among the ash cans?
Huh?
Kind of cold, isn't it?
It ain't warm.
You'll be glad to get back to the club.
You ain't kidding.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Cochran sent you?
What do you think?
Yeah, but he didn't say nothing about pulling me out of here. Hey, wait a minute. I seen you before.
Is that supposed to be a big surprise?
I seen you before. Your name's Craig.
Word gets around.
You're a dick, a private dick.
Says confidential investigator on my door. You don't need a gun. Keep your hand away from...
Wise guy,
Not tonight, you won't. He didn't. He fell down instead. I thought he might be uncomfortable lying on a gun. So I disposed of it for him. I wondered if he'd thank me for it.
Who's there?
Craig.
Say it again.
Craig. You want me to wake the neighbors?
Listen. Open the door slow. I want your hands in front of you and clean when I do.
Okay.
Otherwise, I start shooting. Hold it. Yeah. Come in.
Thanks.
I have to be careful.
Sure.
Sit down.
Thanks. Man with a purple cow can't be too careful.
What's a purple cow supposed to be?
Something you find in St. Louis, the way I heard it.
Just making sure Sally got to you.
She got to me.
She's a good kid.
Uh-huh. Marlin.
Yeah?
I could stand a little more information. For example, how did you get the purple cow in the first place?
A friend of mine handed it to me. He ran an antique shop in St. Louis.
Just gave it to you?
Sure. Thing isn't worth more than a couple of bucks.
And that's when all your trouble started?
That's when it started.
You could have yelled for the cops.
Sure I could have, but look, first of all, there were no witnesses around when I got that cow. Second, I didn't know what importance it had. Not until after I left St. Louis.
Why didn't you get in touch with the man who'd given you the cow?
I tried to.
And?
Found out somebody had pumped him full of lead.
This friend of yours had a record?
Yeah, and that was another reason I wanted to stay clear of the police. He'd been a fence.
What kind of stolen goods did he concentrate on?
Jewels, mostly.
Is that the cow up on the mantelpiece?
That's the cow, all right. I know what you're wondering, but no dice. It's made out of glass. I had it appraised.
Maybe it's hollow.
It's hollow. Nothing in it either.
You know a man named Largo?
Largo?
Small, fair-haired man. Comes from St. Louis.
No, I don't. Why?
Oh, nothing important. You figuring on going out tonight?
No.
That's good. You'd have company if you did.
What kind of company?
Couple of hoods. Front and rear of the house.
Hoods. That's the kind of thing I mean. Why are they after me? On account of a hunk of worthless glass?
I don't know yet. Maybe I'll go ask some questions. Oh, these hoods, Marlin.
Yeah?
Work for a man named Cochran. Name mean anything to you?
Sure. That's the man my sister's going to marry.
I used the front door. The mug in the alley might be resentful. I had no time to soothe him. I had a headache. I wanted to go home and kill a couple of beers and sleep. Marlin was safe for the night. So was the cow. No reason why I shouldn't go home. Maybe that's why I didn't go home.
Good evening, sir. Welcome to Club 44.
Oh, I'm not a customer. Cochran, huh?
Mr. Cochran?
All right. Let's be formal. Mr. Cochran.
Mr. Cochran's not in, sir.
Okay. Take me to where he isn't in. Harder.
Listen, you.
No, I'm too tired.
Stop crowding.
You're all alone compared to what I could do to...
Tough?
Big.
You could be cut down.
Let Cochran try it. Come on.
Okay, take your hands off me.
Just a sample. Let's go.
Mr. Cochran isn't going to like this.
Maybe I won't like Mr. Cochran.
The gentleman to see you, Mr. Cochran.
Gee, thanks.
Mr. Craig.
Frank.
Hello, Miss Marlin. Hello, Cochran.
I couldn't start nothing out in the club, Mr. Cochran.
Don't be silly, sir. Mr. Craig is always welcome. Run along, huh?
Yes.
What are you doing here, Mr. Craig?
I confused it with 39 Barchester, maybe. The same way you did.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Craig.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I'm curious about why.
Sally Marlin hired me for her brother. She was worried about him, so she left my office and promptly headed here.
She, didn't want to worry alone.
Exactly what I was thinking. So I went on to 39 Barchester.
Oh?
The man watching the alley may have a little trouble with solid food for a while.
I see.
Marlin and I had a nice visit.
And you know about Sally and myself?
Sure. I also know you put those men on Marlin.
To protect him.
Then why'd he want me?
I didn't know that Mr. Cochran would be able to help my brother.
You did say help?
We've had a lovely conversation. I think it's over now.
I think it isn't.
You must have a reason.
I was hired to do something about the trouble Marlin's in.
And you're doing it here?
Let's say I'm trying to.
I hardly appreciate your sweaty efforts.
But you're the one who's sweating. Know a man named Largo Cochran?
Yes,
Never mind. He's dead. Why?
Wonderful thing. The radio.
Uh-huh. Largo made a nice haul in St. Louis. Jewels. He turned them over to a fence who ran an antique store.
How interesting.
It gets better as we go along. The fence then turned around and handed Marlin a purple cow. Marlin left town. Largo left town right after him, to wind up dead on the floor of a hamburger joint.
What a distressing place to die.
I don't think Largo was bothered about the decor. He killed the antique boy when he found out his jewels were gone.
He was therefore after Marlin, presumably?
Presumably.
In that case...
I was in the hamburger joint when Largo was killed.
If you will eat such dreadful stuff.
You knew Largo. You knew all about Marlin and the purple cow through Sally here. You have a couple of boys sitting on Marlin's tail. Mr. Cochran, how much of a chance do you think you'd have in front of a jury? Well, you agree with me. Not much of a chance.
Phil, that gun.
Shut up. What Mr. Craig has forgotten is that he's the only one outside of ourselves who knows all these things.
So?
I have no intention of being brought before a jury.
There's a pretty well-known road paved with intentions, Cochran.
I'm not traveling as yet, Craig, but I rather think you are. Keep your hands still. Sally, see if he has a gun.
Bill, I don't...
See if he has a gun.
All right. He had a gun, Bill.
Throw it here.
All right.
Sally,
Yes?
run along home.
Bill, I won't let
Don't be
you.
a fool.
You can put me in the chair.
I don't-
Sally, I told you.
I can't let
You're
you
in
do
my
it.
way, you idiot. Craig, killing the lights won't help you. You've no gun, Craig. Be still, I can't hear.
My arm! I don't twist arms for fun. Grab it! Grab it!
All right.
Thanks. The light, Sally. The thing to do in the dark is keep quiet, Cochran, then nobody knows where you are.
I'll know better next time.
Sure, if there is a next time. Speak up, Cochran. I'll feed you the answers if it's your boys.
Who? Who's there?
Lieutenant Rogers, homicide.
What do you know? Come in, Trav. Oh, Lieutenant Rogers, and hello, Marlin.
Hello.
Donald.
I decided to yell for help to the cops.
About time, too.
After you left me, Craig, I began to worry. About those men watching the house, keeping me tied up, waiting.
Now, take it easy.
I'm all right. I worried about you, too. I knew you were coming here.
Thanks.
And about Sally. I didn't want her to commit herself.
This is ridiculous.
What is, Cochran?
The insinuation that I killed Largo.
That why Craig was holding a gun on you?
He thought he was mistaken.
Barrie?
He might have killed me, Trav.
A very solid vote of confidence.
One thing bothers me.
A modest man.
That's because I never went...
Barrie.
Okay, I'll save it. The thing that bothers me is, how did Largo find out Marlin was going to hire me?
Seems like a fair question. Would anyone here like to answer it?
Maybe we can throw a couple of possibilities out. Marlin wouldn't have told Largo for a lot of reasons. Among them, the fact that Largo was gunning for him.
Marlin, therefore, didn't.
Would Sally?
I never even knew this Largo.
A reasonable reply.
You're accepting it, Barrie?
Uh-huh.
That leaves us
Now,
with...
wait. Perhaps I did tell Largo something about it.
You found out through Sally?
That's true.
Oh, Bill.
I'm sorry, darling, but you see, I've known Largo for a long time. When Largo told me he was after your brother, I thought perhaps I might discourage him.
It's an explanation. You like it, Barrie?
Not much. Cochran told Largo because he hoped Largo would kill Marlin.
Oh, no.
Only reason it means anything. Then Cochran might inherit the purple cow.
But the purple cow is worthless.
That can wait till later.
Sally, you told your brother that you'd mentioned the business of hiring me to Cochran.
Well, I guess so.
I demand a lawyer.
You'll get one, and a jury.
You know something, Trav?
Something like what?
Cochran was right when he said it was ridiculous.
When he said what was ridiculous?
That he killed Largo.
Oh?
Because he didn't.
Well, this is a fine time to tell me. Who did?
The person who understood my last question to Sally. The person who's making a beeline for the desk with a gun on it. Oh!
You mean it was...
Sure. Your brother, Mr. Donald Marlin. Mr. Marlin was very silent after that. It didn't take long to book him. Cochran didn't bother going along for the ride, but Sally did.
That's that. Sorry, Miss Marlin.
Well, I've always known Donald wasn't very...
Barrie.
Yeah?
Before the DA embarrasses me, suppose you tell me why I've locked him up?
Sure. He was the only possibility who didn't know Largo.
I refuse to stand here and feed you questions. Use the narrative form.
Won't take a minute. Largo, back at the hamburger joint, when he was waiting for my client to show up, said he wasn't worried about being spotted before he could kill him. That meant my client didn't know Largo.
It was Marlin's idea all along to kill Largo and implicate Cochran for the killing. But for a purple cow?
You've got Marlin's keys. One of them must be for a safe deposit box.
The boys are already checking.
Nice work, Trav.
Now, once you pointed a finger at Marlin, I realized that he was the only source for the purple cow fantasy. Actually, the antique store fence in St. Louis must have slipped the jewels to Marlin in an effort to defraud Largo. So Marlin invented the purple cow as a red herring?
We're getting our colors mixed, but that had to be the idea.
Yes. Good night, Mr. Craig. Good night, Miss Marlin.
I can't think of a last line.
Well, I can't either, but... Oh, you've been sweet, Mr. Craig. You never suspected me. Does there have to be a last line?
No. Good night, folks. See you next week.
You have been listening to William Gargan in another exciting transcribed mystery drama from the adventures of Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. Tonight's story, Death and the Purple Cow, was written by Lou Vittis. Next week, it's a strange story titled Ghost of a Chance, about which Barrie Craig has this to say.
In next week's story, a man comes back from the dead to haunt a wife who's been dead almost as long as he has, in an insurance scheme that almost, but not quite, cancels out yours truly. See you next week, folks.
Featured in the role of Sally was Arlene Blackburn. Barrie Craig, starring William Gargan, was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Now enjoy Meredith Wilson's Music Room on NBC.
Welcome back. I don't get why they didn't take the guy who had been threatening Craig with a gun. Why they didn't take that guy away. Well, after a lot of twists and turns, we finally got the right killer. So that's pretty much all there is. So much for the Purple Cow. Well, remember, if you get the show through iTunes, be sure to rate us on iTunes. We've got 87 ratings, and we appreciate that. But that'll do it. Well, before we do get started with today's show, I do want to remind you about Audible. Audible is great. It offers you a fantastic library of both classic works as well as recent bestsellers. So even if you don't have time to read, you can still stay up on the top of books you need to be reading. And plus, not only get one audiobook a month, you also get a discount on all other audiobooks purchased through Audible. I just picked up 4 full-cast modern audio dramas for $2.95 each. So there's some great deals to be found for Audible members. You can try it out and get a free audiobook by going to audibletrial.com/greatdetectives. Now it's time for today's episode, a special added attraction.
The F.W. Fitch Company, makers of Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo and Fitch's shaving creams, presents Dick Powell as Private Investigator Richard Rogue in Rogue's Gallery.
Rogue speaking. Oh, don't look at me like that. Just because my shirt is half torn off and my face is scratched and my necktie's under my ear. I just walked into a store to buy a pair of socks. Right in the middle of a sale of nylons. Oh, women. Long red fingernails, staring eyes, pushing, clawing. All elbows and high heels. Yeah. Anybody know where I can trade my pair of nylons for a white shirt? Oh, well. As I returned from this shopping expedition and was looking on the world at large with a jaundiced eye, I walked into my office and found this suit sitting there, overflowing with a large and robust gentleman with a toothy smile, and the manner of a man who was just meeting an old school chum after 40 years of separation. I cringed a little as he rushed happily toward me, with a hand like the business end of a claw machine clutching at mine. I'd never seen him before.
Mr. Rogue, you are Mr. Rogue, are you not, the celebrated investigator?
Yes, that's right.
Mr. Rogue, I'm very happy to make your acquaintance. Very happy. My name is Price. Pop Price, I'm called by those who know me.
Well, have a chair, Mr. Price.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I've called on you, Mr. Rogue, to retain your services.
Mr. Price, how about starting at the beginning now? When you get through with your end of the story, I'll tell you mine. It'll be a quick yes or no.
Man, a few words, that I like. Well, I'll be brief. I realize that you're a busy man, Mr. Rogue.
Yes, sure, go on.
I am business manager for the Farrington Brothers Circus, the world's greatest show. You've seen the circus, of course, been running here for 3 weeks at the Coliseum.
Well, no, I haven't, but I...
Then you've missed something, sir. You've never seen Carlotta the Magnificent, the world's premier aerialist, the only woman in the world who ever attempted to swing through the air between 2 flying trapezes, turning 4 complete somersaults in midair, defying death without even the security of a net beneath her. It's a breathtaking sight, Rogue, positively breathtaking.
Now, look, mister, if you're selling tickets to the circus, I
came here to employ you, Rogue, in your professional capacity to prevent a murder. Somebody is going to attempt to murder one of the circus leading luminaries during tonight's performance. Rogue, somebody has threatened to murder Carlotta the Magnificent.
No kidding. It's a little unusual for murderers to issue invitations.
Now, here it is, Rogue, the death threat.
Oh, can't get much out of that. Pasted on the back of a circus handbill. Letters cut from newspaper headlines. You'll die during tonight's performance. Now, Pop, isn't that a little dramatic? How was the note delivered?
It was on her makeup table this morning.
Huh? Does she have any enemies in the show?
Well, frankly, Rogue, Carlotta is, well, she's the kind of a personality that makes enemies. She's very sure of herself, exceedingly conceited. As a matter of fact, she's what you would probably call an 18-carat dyed-in-the-wool.
Oh, fine.
She's as strong as an ox, as smart as a fox, as mean as a snake, and as brave as a lion. She's 38, but she still considers herself a fatal beauty. As a matter of fact, she's a fine-looking woman. Wonderful figure. Big brown eyes.
Sounds like a fascinating character. Who would want to kill her?
In strict confidence, Rogue, almost anybody who's ever had anything to do with her.
Well, that narrows it down a little. Have you told the police about this threatening note?
Yes, I told them, and I've told the newspapers.
Oh, I knew you wouldn't want to leave them out. You know what I think, Pop? I think this whole thing is a press agent's dream. Lots of free publicity.
Believe me, Mr. Rogue, you are wrong.
Tonight only. Tonight only a special added attraction. See the murder of Carlotta the Magnificent, along with the greatest show on earth. All at the regular price. Oh, Pop, thanks for coming in, but
Just a minute, Mr. Rogue. I have here something which I think might change your mind by way of a retainer.
Oh, that stuff. Well, that does help to convince me you're on the level.
Shall we say $500?
That's a nice round figure.
There you are, and here are 2 passes to the circus tonight. I'll see you there. Rogue, you must prevent that murder.
Well, that's the beginning of our story. We'll continue in just a moment. For now, here's Jim Doyle.
I'd like to say something to the ladies. You know that one of the rules of modern life is perfect cleanliness. For instance, women years ago would be horrified at the thought of washing their hair every day, as many of our Hollywood stars do. But then they didn't have Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo in those days. If they had, I'll wager they would have used it frequently. For Fitch's saponified shampoo always leaves the hair lustrous and easy to set. Made from pure vegetable and mild coconut oils, it won't dry the hair or make it harsh feeling. It cleanses thoroughly, too, for it makes loads of fluffy lather even in hard water. This lather whisks away every bit of dust and dirt, leaves your hair fragrant and sparkling clean. Ask for a professional application of Fitch's saponified coconut oil shampoo at your beauty or barber shop, or buy an economical bottle at your drug or toilet goods counter. Look for the bottle with the bright yellow label. And now we return to Dick Powell as Private Investigator Richard Rogue in Rogue's Gallery.
Ordinarily, I wouldn't go to the circus, even if the elephants carried water for me. But when Pop Price, the business manager of the Farrington Brothers Circus, paid me 5 bills to prevent the murder of Carlotta the Magnificent, I called Betty Callahan at her newspaper and asked her to attend the performance with me that evening. We went early. We wanted to interview the great Carlotta before the big show started.
The circus press agent was in today with a story on that threatening note. Mr. Addison had him come out of the office. Don't walk so fast, Richard. Wait a minute. He said no circus press agent was going to chisel any free space from our people with a moth who can gag like that.
Yeah. Well, he's probably right. Oh, excuse me, Sonny. I'll tell you, we'll take him some pink lemonade and some cotton candy when we go back. That'll make him happy, huh?
Oh, good. I better go back with a murder story if I have to commit it myself.
All right. Hey, buddy.
Yeah?
Where do I find Carlotta the Magnificent?
What do you want with her?
We're from a newspaper. We want to interview her.
About that death threat she got today?
Yeah. How did you know about it?
Who doesn't? Everybody in the show is hoping.
You mean they're hoping she'll be killed?
We can dream, can't we? Carlotta's the worst nuisance that ever hit the circus business. I've been in this racket 20 years. I never knew a dame who could make so many people hate her so much. She's a genius.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You stutter a little bit there, don't you?
Sorry.
Where do we find this nobody's sweetheart?
You're on the right track. Last dressing room in this row.
This circus must think Carlotta is hot stuff. Look at the size of that star on her door.
Yeah. Now, Betty, I'm going to tell her I'm a reporter. Might be able to get more out of it.
All right.
What do you want?
We're from the Evening Bulletin.
Oh, you're from the press. I love the press. Did you bring a photographer with you? Come in.
The photographer will be along later.
Oh, please, make yourselves comfortable. This young man is my manager, Frank Davis.
Hello, Mr. Davis. How are you? Here, take this chair, miss.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Davis.
Now, you want to ask me some questions, no?
Why, yes, Carlotta, if it isn't too much trouble, tell me, what is your last name?
I am Carlotta. Do we have to have this young lady here? I would like to talk to you alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Miss Betty Callahan. She's also on the paper. My name is Richard Rogue.
Oh, you are a very handsome man, Mr. Rogue. You are strong, no?
Well, I've managed to drag myself around. But let's talk about you, Carlotta.
Could we put this interview off until after the performance tonight, Mr. Rogue? Perhaps we could have dinner, you and I.
You're not very worried about the death threat, are you?
Me? Oh, no. Why should I worry? It's professional jealousy, that is all. Somebody is jealous of Carlotta the Magnificent. Someone who is less beautiful, less talented. That could be almost anybody. They're all jealous, aren't they, Frank?
Why shouldn't they be? Believe me, Mr. Rogue, Carlotta's the queen of them all. I've seen all of them in the last 5 years, and Carlotta here's the payoff. There's never been anyone within a mile of her.
Oh, Frank. Frank is such a sweet boy. He loves me. But I am tired. I am weary. Tonight I leave the circus.
Well, when did you decide that?
I decided 2 weeks ago. This is my last night as a performer. The circus world loses its greatest attraction after tonight's performance.
Isn't that tragic?
Carlotta, does top price in all of your decision?
Price? Oh, of course, you know.
His heart is breaking. What will his show be without Carlotta Magnificent? What will it be? Answer me.
I don't know.
It will be nothing.
Oh, yeah. Well, now look, what did you do when you found that threatening note?
I turned the note over to Price. He turned it over to the police. Have you seen my act, Mr. Rogue?
No.
No?
We're going to see it tonight, Carlotta.
I am sensational.
Well, Carlotta, that note you received was lying here on your makeup table when you came in today, right?
Yes. Young man, have you ever tried to do 4 somersaults 100 feet in the air?
Me?
Without a net?
Oh, now look, Carlotta, I want to know about that note. You don't want to get killed, do you?
Look, I take a big swing, then 4 somersaults. Then I grab the trapeze on the other side. It is impossible. Unless you are me.
This I have to see, Carlotta.
Feel that muscle, Mr. Rogue.
Sure. Wow. Hey, that's something. Yes. You're as strong as in... Well, you're very strong.
Yeah, and I've got the scars to prove it, haven't I, Carlotta?
Yes. Frank and I were scuffling this morning. Look, open your mouth, sweetheart. There. The front tooth, I knocked it out. He is scuffling with Carlotta, who could tear him to pieces.
She didn't mean to do it, Mr. Rogue. We were just kidding around.
But I'm very feminine. I have a lovely figure. I dress very quietly on the street. You'll be proud of me when we go to dinner tonight, Mr. Rogue.
Oh, I'm sure I will. Look, Carlotta, I hate to be practical, but Aren't you a little worried about the note? I mean, Pop Price is worried.
Of course he's worried. He's afraid I'm leaving his show.
You're on in 10 minutes. Think.
Pig.
Don't pay any attention to him, Carlotta. I'll take care of him for you.
Well, we'll have to hurry to our seats. We don't want to miss your performance.
We'll be watching you, Carlotta.
You will hurry. There will be a tremendous crowd tonight. This is Carlotta the Magnificent's last performance.
Oh, kind of hard on the public, isn't it?
Of course. I will see you after the performance, handsome.
Thanks for coming back to see us, Rogue, and you too, Miss Callahan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see you later tonight, Carlotta.
Oh, if she should live so long.
You know, Betty, I sometimes wonder if she really wants to talk to me after the show.
You know, Richard, I feel that if I knew Carlotta the Magnificent just a little better, I'd kill her myself. She was absolutely brazen the way she flirted with you. And that Davis, he's young enough to be a son. She's a brazen flirt.
Well, you could take some lessons from her, baby.
What?
That's a girl who knows what she wants.
On second thought, the two of you should make a wonderful couple. You could just sit around and talk to each other about each other and lead a life of great bliss.
Well, I'll say one thing for Pop Price. He figured us in for some good seats. We're practically part of the show.
Oh, I love circuses. I think they're exciting. Don't you, Richard?
Sure. The first honest work I ever did was carrying hay for the horses when the circus came to town. Come to think of it, I guess it was the last honest work I ever did, too.
Oh, Richard. Well, you can be an animal fan if you want to. Personally, I like the clowns.
Oh, I like clowns, too.
Look, Richard, look at that clown with a camera. Coming around here. See him?
Yeah. You the one dressed like a woman?
Look at that hat. Isn't it ridiculous?
You've got one just like it, haven't you?
Oh, it's just like a man. The hat that clown has on has real fruit on it. Apples and oranges and grapefruit. Oh, look!
At least the hat's practical. Did you see Mario grab that apple off and take a bite out of it?
Yes. Mario? Is that the famous Mario?
Why don't you look at your program? I paid 2 bits for it.
Oh.
That clown in the red, white, and blue outfit with the putty nose and the big shoes is Mario. The highest paid clown in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Your attention, please.
About to enter.
The Farrington Brothers Circus,
Quiet.
the greatest show on earth, proudly presents the most sensational attraction ever to be seen on any stage, in any circus, or any theater. America's premier circus proudly presents the greatest aerialist of all time.
Carlotta must have written that herself.
Quiet, jealous.
Jealous?
The performance of her astounding and death-defying feat, no net protects this intrepid artist from certain death in case of a mishap.
Good.
Ladies and gentlemen, the feature attraction of this great show, Carlotta the Magnificent.
Well, there comes your girlfriend. She's climbing up to a trapeze.
Oh, beautiful figure, hasn't she?
Lovely. For her age.
Ah, kitty.
Shut up.
Well, Carlotta the Magnificent is ready to go. You'll soon find out whether you're covering a hoax or not.
You don't think there's any doubt of it being a hoax, do you?
Baby, I'm not sure of anything.
Well, I wish this were over.
So do I. Well, there she goes. Out on the trapeze.
So she thinks, a big swing.
Looks like a tough way to make a buck, doesn't it?
Well, why doesn't she jump?
She's gathering momentum. Here come the somersaults, Betty.
Richard, she's falling. She's falling, Richard.
That note meant business, Betty. Come on. We've just witnessed a murder. We'll return to our story in just a moment. But now here's Jim Doyle, the man from the Fitch Company, who wants to say something about one of his favorite subjects.
That's right, Dick. Fitch's No Brush shaving cream is a favorite subject with me because men are always so pleased with it after they've tried it. Fitch's No Brush combines 3 different shaving ingredients into one easy-to-use cream. One of the ingredients, a special skin conditioner, helps prepare even a tender, sensitive face for a solid comfort shave. Fitch's No Brush also has a creamy, non-greasy texture. It helps the razor do the job in a hurry, even if your beard is tough. When you've finished your shave, your face feels cool and refreshed and smooth as can be.
For men who prefer lather, there's Fitch's Brush Cream. It gives lots of rich, dense lather that stays moist all during the shave. Rinses off easily, too, leaving your face feeling smooth and pleasantly cool.
Join the thousands who have found shaving pleasure through their switch to Fitch. Both Fitch's Brush and Fitch's No Brush shaving creams contain the special skin conditioner for sensitive faces, and both come in handy 25 and 50-cent sizes. And now Dick Powell as Private Investigator Richard Rogue in Rogue's Gallery.
I get invited to a lot of things, but this was the first time I was ever invited to watch a murder. As I sat there in my box seat at the circus and watched my self-elected dinner date, Carlotta the Magnificent, tumble to her death, I felt a great emptiness. I would probably have shown how I felt with much more gusto if Betty Callahan hadn't been practically tearing my arm off. The whole place was in a turmoil. And it took Betty and me quite a while to get down to where Lieutenant Urban was standing, not far from the body.
Please clear the arena. The upper exits in leaving. Use the upper exits, please.
I've got to call my city desk.
Well, go ahead, Betty. You can find a phone someplace down around the business offices. I'm going to talk to Urban. He looks a little upset.
I'll be right back.
Right. Take it easy now.
Yes, I'll hurry.
What are you doing here?
Well, I'm working for the corpse.
What do you mean, working for the corpse?
Well, it's simple. I was hired to keep this from happening.
Who paid you?
Pop Price, the head man of this outfit. How'd it happen?
Well, there were 2 .38 caliber bullets in the body. Somebody did some nice shooting.
Oh. While the drums were rolling to cover up the noise, and the arena was darkened except for the spotlight on the victim. Wow. It's very nice planning.
Stay right here, Rogue. I may want to talk with you later.
Okay, I'm not going anyplace. Hello, Price.
Mr. Rogue, may I speak with you a moment?
Are you Price, business manager of this layout?
Yes, this is horrible.
Where were you when it happened?
I was standing in the entry back there. I was worried.
Oh, you were?
Of course he was. He'd been warned that Carlotta was going to be killed at this performance.
I can handle this, Rogue.
You don't think I had anything to do with it, do you?
She was leaving the show. This was to be her last performance, wasn't it?
Yes, at least she intended to quit. She was always threatening to quit.
And this time it looked like she meant it, eh? What would happen to your show if Carlotta left it? She was the star, wasn't she?
Yes, she was the stellar attraction.
Uh-huh. So you'd have been in trouble. She was spotting you, wasn't she? And you took this way of getting even.
That's a good theory, Urban.
Thanks. Who was with you when it happened, Price?
I was alone.
Careless of you. Somebody punched a hole in your meal ticket. Now, don't leave the premises. I want to talk with you later. Where's the dead woman's manager? I want to talk with him.
He's in her dressing room. His name is Davis.
Oh, he is, eh? Well, we'll call on him there. Come on, Rogue.
Richard, wait for me.
Well, hurry up, Betty. Urban marches on.
All right, Davis, we just want to ask some questions. You have been associated with Carlotta for 5 years. Who would have wanted to kill her?
Believe me, Lieutenant Urban, if I knew, I'd murdered him. You don't know what Carlotta meant to me. I loved her. She had a lot of enemies, but...
Just name off a few of them, will you?
Well, she had a run-in with the animal trainer, Cliff Stewart, the other day, and a big fight with Mario the Clown last week, and she and Pop Price weren't getting along very well. She threatened to choke him to death a few nights ago, and she was threatening to quit and taunting him about it. And, well, it must have been one of them. They didn't understand Carlotta. They didn't know how to handle her. One of them killed her.
Davis, did she leave a will? Who gets her money?
She had no money, Mr. Rogue. She spent it as fast as she got it. Sometimes a little faster. I tried to get her to save some money for the future. but she was too big-hearted.
If she didn't have any dough, how come she was quitting a $1,000 a week job?
Her doctor ordered her to take it easy for a while. Her heart was acting up. I had it all fixed for a 3-month rest in Mexico City. That's what she wanted.
We found the gun, Lieutenant Urban.
Where?
Right by the third ring. The gun is a Smith & Wesson, 38, and there were 2 ejected shells laying right by it.
Well, it must have been dropped as soon as it was fired.
That gun belongs to Mario, the clown.
How do you know?
I've seen it in his trunk 1,000 times, so has everybody else in the circus. It's his, all right. It's got his initials on the butt.
Mario, eh?
That murdering skunk. I'm going to kill him for this. He did it. He shot Carlotta.
Mario was standing in the ring, right about where the shot was fired, just a few minutes before the murder.
That's right, Richard. We were watching him when the house lights dimmed for Carlotta's entrance.
Yeah, that's his routine. I'm going to find him and...
Davis, take it easy. I think the police can handle this.
This is a personal thing. Give me that gun.
Cut it off, Davis.
Now, sit down.
Take it easy, Davis. Now, where's Mario's dressing room?
Right next door.
Come on, Urban. Let's go see how funny this clown really is.
Mario! Mario! Open up! This is the law.
You know, he just may not be in there, Urban.
Now, we'll see.
Oh! Richard! He's dead.
No, I don't think so.
He's been chloroformed. Smell it? Look, here's the bottle. He's still got the saturated cloth in his hand.
Well, don't stand there waving at my face.
Why would he chloroform himself?
Well, what makes you think he did?
Murderers do funny things. Come on, let's get him out of here. Help me lift him, Rogue.
Now, wait a minute, Urban. Why don't you wait until he comes out of it? The way you're going at it, he'll be in the electric chair before he wakes up.
You saw him right there at the edge of ring number 3 just before Carlotta was shot, didn't you, Rogue?
Yes.
Anybody else around him?
No.
And Carlotta was shot with Mario's gun. That's all I need. I'm taking him down and booking him for murder.
Betty, I bet if your paper prints that story the way you see it, you're going to live to regret the day the printing press was invented. Urban's jumping the gun. Nobody ever went to that much trouble to frame themselves to the chair.
Look, Richard, I'm your greatest admirer and all that, but you're just being bull-headed. Nobody but Mario was near the spot where the gun and the spent cartridges were found. Pure logic proves that he's the guilty man.
Well, somebody might have been impersonating Mario.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Hey.
What are you doing?
I'm going back to the circus. There's one piece of evidence that everybody forgot to check.
I'm not at all sure I like being alone in the menagerie at midnight.
No. Well, hang on to my hand. We'll be in the main arena in just a minute.
Thank goodness there's some lights in the arena.
Yeah. It's an awful looking place in here, isn't it?
I don't imagine we're improving it much.
No. Okay. All right, now here's the third ring. When we were watching Mario, he was right about here, wasn't he?
Yeah. Over this way a little, I think.
Well, it's bound to be here someplace.
Richard, what are you doing down on your hands and knees?
I'm looking for a clue, baby. A clue that's going to send somebody up for murder. I'll show that Urban guy how a really sharp investigator works.
Oh, let's get out of here, Richard.
Well, it's got to be here someplace.
Well,
someplace. I've got it. I've got it, Betty.
Drop it, Rogue.
Huh?
Drop it.
Huh? Oh, okay. Okay, Davis. I always do as I'm told when I'm talking past a 45. You killed Carlotta, didn't you?
Yes, but I'm not going to be arrested for it. Nobody I can prove I did it but you, Rogue. And you're not going to live to tell it. And neither is Miss Callahan here. All right, Miss Callahan, get over here. Over by Rogue.
Oh.
You think you can get away with killing us here?
It's worth trying, isn't it?
Well, okay.
Look out, Betty.
I didn't have anything to lose, so I rushed him. I may not be as strong as Carlotta was, but I was stronger than Frank Davis. And I had the advantage of some judo I'd picked up during a date with a hat-check girl. I got the gun away from him and turned him over to Ervin. He admitted killing Carlotta. She was quitting the business and demanding an accounting of her cash. Davis had gambled most of it away. He knew Mario's routine, so he slipped him a Mickey, borrowed his costume and his gun, and took his place in the arena that evening. And you know, when he was impersonating Mario, and Betty and I watched him take a bite out of an apple, and he got off another clown's hat, remember? Well, I found the apple, and that's what convicted him. That front tooth Carlotta knocked out of his mouth gave him a kind of an individualistic bite. It showed up as plain as the nose on Durant's face and the part of the apple that was left. Smart work, huh? Well, they executed Frank Davis for the murder of Carlotta the Magnificent. She was quite a girl. Quite a girl. Betty didn't seem to like her, but, well, after all, women are all alike. Everyone you meet is different. You know what I mean? This is Dick Powell again, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed our story tonight. Ray Buffum wrote it. Leith Stevens composed and conducted the music, and Dee Engelbach produced and directed. But don't forget, you've all got a date with us next Thursday night. We have a story for you about a girl, a boy, and a gun. So make a date with us, will you? Thanks for listening, and now here's Jim Doyle.
Be with us again at the same time next week. Oh, and by the way, be sure to see Dick Powell in his latest RKO picture, Cornered, at your local theater soon. Remember, tune in again next Thursday, same time, same station, when you will again hear Dick Powell as Private Investigator Richard Rogue in Rogue's Gallery. Remember, if dandruff is your problem, ask for Fitch's Dandruff Remover Shampoo. It's the only shampoo made whose guarantee to remove dandruff is backed by one of the world's largest insurance firms. No other shampoo can make this statement. Ask for Fitch's Dandruff Remover Shampoo at your drug or toilet goods counter, beauty or barber shop. Fitch is spelled F-I-T-C-H.
Welcome back. Well, some good evidence collecting by Mr. Rogue manages to solve the case. I should mention here how hard-boiled detectives really were developing about this time. Because I mentioned before that Rogue was the first. However, in January 1946, he was no longer the only one. 2 days before, he was joined by two new hard-boiled detectives, one of which we've already played, that being, of course, Ideal in Crime with William Gargan, and The Fat Man with Brad Runyon, played by J. Scott Smart. But at this point, we're actually still several months away from when ABC would hit on an idea that would become one of radio's most successful, and that was bringing Sam Spade to the air. So still, Rogue is pretty well dominating the field when it comes to the hard-boiled private eyes. Well, that's it for this week. We'll be back tomorrow with Let George Do It. Well, before we do get started, I do want to remind you that we've got a lot of great articles available for you to read at greatdetectives.net. Every week we post a new article or two. It could be a mystery book review. Been doing a lot of Nero Wolfe books. Could be an article about Golden Age radio shows or types of shows, classic television, We cover a whole gamut, and I encourage you to check it out, greatdetectives.net. You can also get it automatically delivered to your Kindle, and you can try that service out free for 2 weeks. Well, it's time for today's episode of Let George Do It. Mix Up in LaCruza.
Personal notice. Danger's my stock and trade. If the job's too tough for you to handle, you got a job for me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Standard Oil Company of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invites you to Let George Do It. Mix Up in LaCruza, another adventure of George Valentine.
Dear Mr. Valentine, the little town of LaCruza is located on the coast of Mexico. First airplane stop to your south. In the spring, before the heat sets in, it's lovely, lovely. I know you'll enjoy it. I have the week I've been here. Your plane tickets are enclosed, and of course, there's only the one hotel. Quite adequate, with better than average menu. Your assignment will be quite simple, Mr. Valentine. Theft. Just ordinary theft. Small object of great value, worth perhaps $100,000. I know you'll have no trouble stealing it whatsoever and getting away with it. Any violence that you find necessary will be that much to the good, even though the person you'll steal from will, quite naturally, be me. Of course, I'll write you a note
sometime after your arrival tomorrow to cover your more specific instructions. I suggest that your assistant travel more or less incognito. As a divorcee, perhaps, since divorce is a rather popular business here in LaCruza. And as for you, Mr. Valentine, I have complete confidence in your ability to steal from me and in your ability to behave in a most criminal manner. Yours most sincerely, Pascal Van Tyfel.
Of the paper doll cutting Van Tyfels, I suppose?
No, George, it's RDGDA.
Huh?
Royal Dutch Gem Dealers Association and member of the International Diamond Dealers Institute.
Oh, you mean it's me that's supposed to be crazy? Member of the Fall Guy and International Suckers Institute.
Darling, I've heard that LaCruza is a very beautiful place. Quite small, but with big swimming pools and tropical palms.
Tear the letter up, Brooksy. Tear it up. Throw it away.
Only it does make you kind of curious what he means. Why he'd want you to steal from him.
Angel, look, it's either a confidence game or a sucker case. If that guy thinks I'm nutty enough to...
Yes, George?
Swimming pool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Tropical palms, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Brooksy, let's take a look at those tickets to LaCruza.
George, listen, she means you.
Huh? Hey, come on. I want to get over to that desk and register.
Oh, welcome to LaCruza. Welcome. I know it's a man. I just know it is. I can remember so well.
Hi, lady.
Here, have a sip. You don't mind a little lipstick on a glass?
Look, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's champagne, not tequila. Here, it's nice lipstick.
I said no thanks. I'm sorry. Look, sister, will you please?
Oh, listen, sister. Oh, it sounds wonderful. She your mother? What? Oh, honey, I didn't mean it. I was afraid to ask. Your wife?
Neither one, darling. He's George Valentine, and I'm Mrs. Brooks. I'm down here for my third divorce.
Oh, an amateur.
Well, I was going to say I just met him on the plane.
Well, you can have him back sometime when it rains. But in the meantime, I'm staging a little party, and he's exactly what I need.
For the last time.
Bedelia. That's my name, Bedelia.
Well, get yourself unwound, will you? You're spilling that drink. And look, you're getting your necklace in it.
Ah, but it's a farewell party. Just me and champagne and now you. To say goodbye to my diamond necklace.
You mean every one of those things is real?
Sure, honey. All diamonds. See? $100,000 worth. Isn't it absolutely revolting?
sit down. Now, isn't it better? Just the two of us?
Uh-huh. And the diamonds. Aren't you afraid to wear them, Bedelia?
Oh, the necklace has been in the hotel safe most of the time. Besides, all these people are harmless. Particularly the men, darn it. Now, hold your glass steady.
No, why don't we skip the champagne? You don't need any more.
No more champagne? Oh, Mr. Valentine, you'll drink it out of my slipper if I say so. Do you have any idea where I've been for the past year? In a lowest Slobovian sort of a country in Europe you never even heard of. Me, Bedelia.
From Brooklyn.
I beg your pardon, the Bronx.
Oh, sure. Okay, ladies, so you've been traveling.
A whole year without even seeing a used car dealer or an item like you.
What were you doing over there, wherever it was?
Being married, naturally, to a Slobovian. Gosh, how do you think I got these glass eggs? Illegitimate?
So that's it. Present from your last husband.
It's my settlement.
And it's weighing you down.
I stopped here to get my divorce on the way home and raise a little cash.
Gonna sell the diamonds. The farewell party?
Mr. Valentine, do you know where they can sell this thing best? Way down in South America where the beef grows. Can't you just imagine? Some bull of the Pampas putting these gorgeous things around the neck of a cow.
May I be of any assistance here? Perhaps I may.
Oh, no, I'm quite all right, thank you.
We have an engagement, you know, my dear, at the bank in town.
Oh, yes, I'll be there, don't worry.
Well, I only thought this gentleman here, the stranger...
Oh, no, he's not. He's George Valentine. And this is Mr. Pascal Van Tyfel.
Well, Van Tyfel.
At your service, sir, but Valentine... Isn't that strange? I don't believe I've ever heard the name.
You what?
And yet your face is so familiar somehow. You've ever been in Madagascar?
Hey,
well, it's of no consequence.
Hey, wait a minute, friend. What's the idea, Van Tyfel?
I'm really a very busy man, sir.
Sure, Buster, but
and
look,
you can't tell me I haven't seen your face before in quite different circumstances. Now, good day to you, sir.
What's the matter, Mr. Valentine?
Bedelia, who is that guy?
Mr. Van Tyfel? Well, he's the dealer. He's the man who's going to take my necklace down to South America and sell it for me.
Uh-huh. He's going to take it, is he?
Well, yes. I'm going to meet him at the bank and sign it over to him. His plane leaves tonight.
Tonight? Well, excuse me, sister, but I got work to do, and you...
Oh, no, stay here. Stay
Go,
here.
will you? Look, nobody's going to touch that as long as you're wearing it.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I meant you. I mean... Oh, you did. Do it again.
Sure. Close your eyes.
I'm the Countess, third time removed. Did you ever kiss a Countess before, Mr. Valentine? Mr. Well, he's gone. Well, now, wouldn't that fry your griddle?
Oh, Mr. Valentine, I don't believe that you've registered yet.
Oh, yes, he has. Has he?
Oh, hello there, Mrs. Brooks. What did you say?
A piece of Kleenex?
Huh?
To wipe off the lipstick?
Oh.
Mr. Valentine?
Oh, sure, I didn't, Say, I was looking for someone, a big, heavy-set man. He just stepped out of the bar a moment ago.
My name is Hill. I'm the manager of this hotel.
Oh, I'm glad to meet you. About this man, his name is Van Tyfel. I'd like the number of his room, and I want to send a telegram, too. Can you tell me where I could do that?
Of course, it's in town, the telegraph office on the plaza. Since you'll be going through there anyway...
Since I'll be... Hey, what's this all about? You look like you just swallowed a fish, Mr. Hill.
He's been asking me a lot of questions about you, Mr. Valentine. He says other people are asking questions about you, too.
About me? Look, Buster, I haven't got any friends in LaCruza.
I'm quite sure you haven't, Mr. Valentine. But would you be willing to identify yourself more fully? Would you be willing to state your exact business here?
Sure. Minding my own. Now, Buster, what in the name of heaven are you...
Mr. Valentine, I regret this, but I must inform you that there is no longer a reservation here for you.
What?
There's no space in our hotel for a person of your sort. And don't you dare raise your hand if you don't leave this instant. Boy, front! Goodbye, Mr. Valentine. Front!
Who'd you send the wire to, George?
Big jeweler friend of mine in Mexico City, Angel. A fellow named Emilio. Want to find out how genuine this joke of Antipal is, in fact.
George, I don't understand this whole
You and me
setup.
both, Brooksy. Come on, let's go over to the bank. Bedelia's going to transfer her necklace to the guy.
Senor Valentina, 1,000 pardons.
Hey, what's this?
I'm a lieutenant from the police,
Wait a minute, the police.
There's nothing to worry about for you, senora. But for a man like Mr. Valentine, with the international reputation as a jewel thief, that is the color of a different horse, naturally.
A jewel? So that's what the fisheye at the hotel was talking about. Now, look, Buster, I don't know who starts the rumors,
Senor, please, no resistance. But, of course, the police would not act without more information. However, Senor Valentine, I beg to announce you're under arrest for the crime that you were seen molesting a woman in a bar.
But they said you were the one I should see, Lieutenant, and I've already showed them the wires from police in the United States. I mean, look. Usted conoce que él es el señor Valentín. Y ahora usted está seguro lo que es en verdad.
Hey, let me out of this place, will you? I'll tear it down. I'll burn it up. Will you guys let me out of this place?
Dejen que la va. Esto es increíble. Dejen que la va.
Yes, of course we are releasing you, Senor Valentine. It was quite easy to verify who you really are. Only about this other matter, this molesting...
Who reported that, Lieutenant? Who preferred those charges?
That's the legal reason why you're being released. We don't know. We can't find out who it was. They never showed up.
Uh-huh. Riddle number 57. Okay, Lieutenant.
By the way, your assistant does not speak very good Spanish. But, well, I rather got the idea she thinks you did do a bit of molesting here or there.
Well, this is it, room 17.
It wasn't easy to find out, George. That manager, that Mr. Hill, watches everybody like a hawk.
Yeah. Mr. Van Tybel?
Found out about the bank, too. Bedelia gave Mr. Van Tybel the diamonds, and they signed some papers, and that's about all I gave.
Mr. Van Tybel. Oh, wait till I get my hands on this guy. Mr. Van Tybel. Mr. Van?
Yes. Oh, yes, right here, Valentine.
Oh, you're going to admit you know me this time, huh?
Of course, only shut the door. Yeah, here we are.
Now, look, my friend, start rolling up your sleeves. Ever since I got that crazy letter of yours, I've been working in a 3-ring squirrel cage, but from now on, Buster...
Valentine, please, I know it was a strange assignment, but asking you to steal from me, but please, sit down. I don't feel so well myself, you know. After all, you hit me pretty hard.
I what?
Oh, yes, I was only just waking up from it, I suppose, when I heard your knocking there.
George?
Oh, now, don't apologize. After all, you had to take the diamonds away from me. My congratulations, Mr. Valentine. You stole them masterfully.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment. Here's good news for you motorists who have cars with automatic transmissions. When the transmission is due for a checkup, all you have to do now is pull in at your nearest standard station or independent Chevron gas station. The men at all these service stations have been thoroughly trained in lubricating automatic transmissions. And don't think this service doesn't require skill and knowledge. For your automatic transmission is a precision unit. Just a small amount of dirt could damage the mechanism. The wrong fluid level would be harmful, too. And it's very important to have your automatic transmission drained and refilled with factory-approved fluid at regular intervals. So for perfect performance of this vital part of your car, ask for the protective service you get at independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations, where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Back to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. You go to the little town of LaCruza in Mexico because a man named Pascal Van Teifel wants you to steal something from him, a diamond necklace. Well, even if you're as curious and stubborn as George Valentine, you're beginning to think you shouldn't have gone. So far, you've been accused by the hotel of being an international jewel thief, and the police have thrown you in jail because someone reported seeing you molest a woman in a bar. And now to top it off, Mr. Van Teifel congratulates you. He says you've done a masterful job of already stealing the $100,000 necklace.
Buster, I did not knock you on the head with a sharp instrument, and I definitely did not take the necklace.
But you got my note, my instructions.
What are you talking
I left them in your
What
in your
note?
room.
What note?
What room? He doesn't even have a room, Mr. Van Teifel. That Mr. Hill canceled his reservations, threw him out of the hotel.
Oh, it's all my fault. I started the rumors about you, naturally.
Oh, naturally.
Well, I merely wanted people to start thinking of you as a thief.
Thanks for the friendly build-up, chum. Anyway, if there was any method in your madness, it worked too well.
And so someone else, anyone, must have found that note.
Maybe it was the same person who got you out of the way, George. Who got you put in jail for making passes at the Countess.
Van Teifel, suppose you start at the beginning.
Well, I suppose first I should take a look over here.
What's that, a toolbox?
Oh, yes, indeed. There we are. Of course.
But there's the necklace. George, look at it.
No, my dear, I was robbed. The necklace was in a little leather bag in my pocket. And there, you see? It's gone.
What? But
This one in the box, my dear, is nothing but paste. Paste.
Oh, that does it. So now we got two necklaces.
Mr. Valentine, when I agreed to take the necklace to South America for sale, I was worried. There were too many people around who seemed to be watching me, watching her. I've been in these things before. I'm a bit of a psychologist.
Oh, sure. I can hear Freud turning over in his grave.
But it's much too expensive, to insure a necklace so valuable during the time I would have it as a dealer. So to protect myself, I had this paste imitation made. It's very good, too, isn't it? And I assure you there's not a soul here in LaCruza who could possibly tell the difference.
No, I couldn't. Go on.
Well, that's where you were to fit in, you see, to take the hounds off the trail of the fox. To endure the little false reputation I rumored about you, and then steal the paste diamonds here, and then be caught. Yes, and everyone would have believed that you had stolen the real ones. I would have been safely on my way to South America with the real necklace, and no one following me. The hounds would have been left barking at you.
No, it wasn't a bad plan. It just didn't work. Somebody else got my instructions and followed through. Only they took the real diamonds instead of the paste.
Oh, Mr. Valentine, please. You're going to help me, aren't you?
I don't know,
he
friend.
certainly is not. You got yourself into this mess?
Oh, but my plane leaves in only a few hours. I have appointments with buyers in South America. $100,000. I signed a note for that amount. Where would I get it?
You'll think of something. You're a psychologist, remember?
Wait a minute, Brooksy, hold on. The bright boy here hired me for my criminal manner, didn't he?
What?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Valentine. You will help me, huh? You will.
Oh, sure. He hired me to steal from him. So, Buster, hand it over. The box with the necklace, the diamonds, the paste. Come on,
now,
give.
see here, I
And when you're getting robbed, you don't talk back.
George! George, what's the matter with you?
He looks like he'll sleep for a couple of hours, but step on it. Now that I've done it, I don't want to get caught.
George, you've gone crazy.
No, it's just my turn to play a man of mystery for a change.
What?
Keep your eye on the little ball, Brooksy. See if you can tell what I'm doing. Go on, Brooksy. Read me that wire.
All right, George. George Valentine LaCruza. Regarding Pascal Van Teifel, he may be a little sharp at times, but Van Teifel is definitely a legitimate gem dealer. Internationally, yours, Don Emilio, jeweler, Mexico City.
So the client's okay.
Well, we'd know where we stand a lot better if your friend in Mexico City had said he wasn't okay.
Oh, Angel, stop worrying. Come on, join the party.
Party?
Sure, party for me. Didn't you know? I'm going to fly to South America in a couple of hours with Van Teifel.
Yes, that's it, Pablo. Drink up, Lieutenant.
No, please. I'm on duty, you know. I only came out because you telephoned. Asked me to bring the expert here.
Well, there's one for him, too.
But I tell you, Lieutenant, I am wasting my time. What was it you wanted, Senor Valentin?
An appraisal, that's all, an appraisal. If I'm going to fly south with Van Tyfel carrying these things, I got to have something official to wave at the customs people on the way.
Well, all the handsome men.
The Countess. I suggest we all step into Senor Hill's office.
Why? If the expert's in a hurry, let's get it over with. Here you are, expert. What do you think?
Mein Himmel!
Hey, keep it down a little. What do you think?
In my life, I assure you, I have not ever seen such beautiful, such perfect diamonds. Appraisal? Oh, about $100,000.
George, which are those things, real or phony?
You heard the expert, Angel. These are worth a fortune.
But they're the same ones you stole. Yet if Van Tyfel is supposed to be honest, and he told us they were paid...
Well, I can't tell the difference, can you?
That's what I mean.
Okay,
I'm
then.
not...
Why worry? I told you to trust Junior.
Trust Junior. You wouldn't even let the lieutenant give you a man to guard the things and to... George, where are you going?
Out through the patio to room 17. For a little conference with my fellow criminal. I got a feeling I'll never get that swim. La cucaracha, la cucaracha. Oh, brother, my head.
I think he's all right now, Miss Brooks.
George? George, can you hear me?
Where's Van Tyfel?
We just found you, George. I waited almost an hour.
Wait. What's this, blood?
Sharp instrument. Cut the back of your head a bit.
Yeah, wait a minute. White dust.
In case you're wondering, you don't have any diamonds anymore.
No diamonds, huh? Well, come on, we got to step on it. Van Tyfel's room.
Empty, Mr. Valentin.
He's gone.
Well, he can't have been gone long.
No diamonds in here. No leather bag, no jewel
Of
box.
course not. I've been asleep. But I'm awake now. Come on, let's find him.
Yes, I put Mr. Van Tyfel in a taxi for the airport a half hour ago.
He's aboard his plane by now. Wouldn't you know?
Now, where's the master plan? Now, where are the diamonds?
Well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it, Angel? Van Tyfel's got him.
Well, of course he does.
He wouldn't have left here otherwise, would he, Countess?
Well, see here. If you think we should chase after Mr. Van
Why,
Tyfel...
Mr. Hill? Why? Van Tyfel's a legitimate businessman.
Now, George, listen to me.
No, listen to me, all of you. Oh, I know you all paid too much attention to that expert I got the lieutenant here to bring.
He was very convincing, I thought.
You mean he wasn't an expert?
Of course not. Now, I'll grant you it didn't work out exactly the way I thought it would. But I guess the diamonds showed up again in Van Tyfel's room, so he just picked them up and pulled out.
Mr.
What I didn't
Valentine.
expect was to get kicked over the head like that. I thought the switch might come easier. But, I guess that kicks you right in the face, doesn't it, Bedelia?
What in the name of...
White dust, powder, and a sharp instrument on the back of the head. It's a nasty weapon, isn't it? And Van Tyfel got exactly the same treatment.
Stop that!
I just want
Let
to
go
take
of
a
me.
look at the heels of one of those white suede shoes you tried to get me to drink champagne out
Stop
of.
all the insulting
I might have
ways-
known it was you when you got so nervous in the bar tonight when Van Tyfel didn't show up. Were you scared you'd hit him too hard?
You mean in my hotel?
Have your cake and eat it. That's her motto.
They're my diamonds, aren't they?
Yeah. And you just couldn't stand to kiss him goodbye. So you cooked up a bright little plan to steal from your own agent, from Van Tyfel, just as soon as he'd signed for it.
I did
You
not.
found out his scheme of using me and stole the diamonds before I could get untangled from jail.
George.
Sure, Angel. Sure, it's that simple. Van Tyfel was left with the phonies, and he told us they were phony.
What did
And he
you
also
say?
told us there was another person in LaCruza who could tell the two sets apart. Sure, that's it. I just stole the paste ones. The lieutenant and his stooge helped me give them a big buildup. And then Bedelia here fell like a ton of bricks.
I what?
She got panicky. Came after me, took the ones I had and switched them. She put the real ones, the ones she'd had in the first place, back into Van Tijfel's.
No, I didn't.
He wouldn't have left unless they were the real ones, would he? So I made you beat yourself, Countess. Outsmart yourself. And someplace you've hidden a piece of junk.
Oh.
Well, you don't have to take it that hard, Countess. Fainting is so old-fashioned for a girl from the Bronx.
George. Who got you thrown in jail?
Oh, Brooksy, look, I've already told you. The girl, of course, the girl to get me out of the way.
I was just thinking. It was for molesting her, wasn't it?
Now, how do you like that? Brooksy, I've explained to you a
And
thousand
I guess
times.
she was the only one who was really close enough to... Well, to give a report or tell me exactly what it was.
Come
But...
here.
George, was that what you did? Oh, never mind. Just show me again.
You're driving along the highway with the family. It's a nice day and everything's fine, except your car's acting a little tired. Every now and then a car behind you gives you the horn to step it up a little. What's the trouble? It well may be that gum is robbing your engine of its power. The kind of gum caused by the impurities that naturally exist in most raw gasolines. The only way to get rid of those impurities is to refine them out, and that's why Chevron Supreme gasoline is so popular in the West. For it's the gasoline super refined to remove engine-sticking gum. Try a tank full and see how this super refined gasoline gives you that new car feeling. Faster starting, all the powerful pep your car deserves on the open road, and ping-free power on steep hills. Ask for super refined Chevron Supreme tomorrow. You'll find it gives new power, full mileage in the kind of driving you do. That new car feeling. Ask for it at standard stations and independent Chevron gas stations where they say and mean we take better care of your car. Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard Oil Company of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West. Robert Daly is starred as George with Virginia Gregg as Brooksy. Let George Do It is written by David Victor and Jackson Gillis and directed by Don Clark. Larry Dobkin was heard as Van Tijfel, Sandra Gould as Bedelia, Dan O'Hurley as Hill, Jack Crucian as the expert, and Harold Deerenforth as the lieutenant. The music is composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter, your announcer, John Heaston. America is faced with a serious tragedy, the loss to one disease alone of more than 200,000 lives this year. The disease, cancer. We can strike back at cancer by joining the 1950 Cancer Crusade, by supporting the vast research, education, and service programs of the American Cancer Society. Give generously. Mail your contribution today to Cancer, care of your local post office. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, a very good mystery. Really, this one twisted from start to finish, even getting into the second half to figure out what, as they might say on Dragnet, the pitch is. And of course, we also are reminded that romance scenes are pretty easy on the radio, and the power of the imagination determines the listener experience. Well, we turn briefly to listener comments and feedback. Just a simple, great detectives is the best, and another, as always, the best. Well, thank you so much for your comments. Also, if you listened on last Monday, we talked on the Barrie Craig Show about the possibility of going to more listener-supported rather than advertising model. I would like to hear from you on that, get some feedback. But that'll do it for now. Well, before we do get started, I want to remind you, if you've not already tried Netflix, there's a world of great entertainment options. I just finished watching all of the Thin Man movies on DVD. There's a wide variety of great classic television shows and movies available in the Instant Watch library, including Mission Impossible, The Third Man with Orson Welles, and much more. You can try Netflix out by going to netflix.greatdetectives.net, or if you're in Canada, netflixca.greatdetectives.net. Well, today I'm going to bring you a story. This is actually a sentimental favorite. It's the first Sherlock Holmes story I ever read. I was visiting my grandfather's house, and they had a copy of a book that just had the Red-Headed League in it, so I sat down and I read it. And it was the first Sherlock Holmes story I enjoyed. Oh, whether you're listening for the first time or you've heard and read the story countless times before, I hope you enjoy it as well. Here now is The Red-Headed League.
Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Once more, we're about to visit Dr. Watson, the friend and chronicler of Sherlock Holmes and his amazing adventures. We find him sitting in his well-worn armchair, an eager look on his face and a humorous twinkle in his eye. Can it be that the good doctor looks forward to his weekly appearances before the microphone?
Good evening, Mr. Bell. It certainly can. Tonight I have my narrative all picked out. Have you ever noticed that red-headed people always seem to lead very eventful lives? Look at Queen Elizabeth.
Yes. And I've heard that Cleopatra was a bricktop, and she certainly had very few dull moments.
No, I'm sure she didn't. Well, tonight I've decided to tell you the story of the Red-Headed League.
The Red-Headed League. What a curious title.
No more curious than the situation it gave rise to in Sherlock Holmes' life. And as soon as your word with our listeners is out, I'll begin.
Good. Men, if you want to be a success in life, if you want to look like a success in life, remember that well-groomed hair means a lot to a man's appearance. I've heard so many men complain lately that the hair dressings they try are too greasy, too highly perfumed. I've heard them complain about those sticky goos which plaster their hair down and leave flaky residue on the hair. That's why I urge you to try Kreml Hair Tonic. This highly specialized hair tonic has just enough light oil to keep hair handsomely groomed, every hair in place with a rich, healthy-looking luster. And Kreml gives hair such a natural, well-groomed appearance, yet it never leaves hair looking or feeling greasy or sticky. This is because Kreml contains a special combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair tonic. After you apply Kreml, just run your hand over your hair. Notice how delightfully clean your hair feels. So tempting for the ladies to touch. Notice how no greasy film comes off on your hand or hatband. Kreml always gives hair such a handsome, clean-cut look, as if your barber had just combed it, and it keeps it that way all day long. Be sure to try it, men. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, how about the Red-Headed League?
Well, the adventure began one day during the autumn of the year 1890, I believe it was. It was just after my marriage, and I hadn't seen much of Sherlock Holmes lately. Anyway, I burst in upon my old friend to find him deep in conversation with a stout, florid-faced gentleman with the fiercest red hair it has ever been my privilege to observe. I was about to withdraw when Holmes pulled me abruptly into the room and closed the door behind me.
Come in, my dear Watson, come in. You couldn't possibly have come at a better time.
But, Holmes, I was afraid you might be busy.
So I am, my dear fellow. Allow me. Mr. Wilson, this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
Sit down, Watson, sit down.
Thank you.
I know that you share my love of the bizarre, although you've never agreed that for the strangest effects and most extraordinary combinations we must go to life itself.
Well, you know,
Mr. Japers Wilson here has just started a narrative which promises to be one of the most singular to which I've listened for some time.
Oh, really?
And now, my dear Mr. Wilson, perhaps you would have the great kindness to recommence your story.
Oh, certainly, Mr. Holmes. As soon as I can find that newspaper clipping. Where did I put it? I'd have sworn it was here in my waistcoat pocket.
Watson, while we're waiting for Mr. Wilson to find his missing newspaper advertisement, suppose you tell me what you deduce from his appearance.
Oh, well, now, let's see. Well, I would say that he was middle-aged, if you don't mind my saying so, Mr. Wilcox, Wilson, and he has red hair.
Obvious, Watson. Too obvious. I'll come to your assistance.
Oh, kind of?
He has at some time done manual labor. He's a Freemason, has been in China, and has done a considerable amount of writing lately.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, you fair give me the creeps. Are you one of these mind readers?
No, indeed.
Then how in the name of good fortune did you know all this about me? About the manual labor, for example. It's as true as gospel. I begin as a ship's carpenter.
Your hands, my dear sir. Your right hand is quite a size larger than your left. The muscles are more developed. As for the Freemasonry, you use an arc and compass breastpin, rather against the strict rules of your order.
See that. But the writing, how about that?
What else can be indicated by that right cuff, so very shiny, and the left sleeve with the smooth patch near the elbow where you rest it on the desk?
Well, how about China?
The fish that you have tattooed immediately above your right wrist could only have been done in China. That trick of staining the fish's scales a delicate pink is quite peculiar to China. And when, in addition, I see a Chinese coin hanging from your watch chain, the matter becomes even more simple.
Well, I never. At first I thought you'd done something clever. But now I see it was nothing to it after all.
I begin to think, Watson, that I make a mistake in explaining. Omne ignotum pro magnifico, you know.
Yes, just what I was thinking.
Yes, I'm afraid what reputation I may have will suffer shipwreck if I'm so candid. Have you found the advertisement, Mr. Wilson?
Oh, yes, I got it now. It was in my watch pocket. This is what began it all, sir. Just read it for yourself.
Watson, suppose you do that for us.
With pleasure.
First, make a note of the paper and the date.
It's the Morning Chronicle of July the 27th, 1890, just 2 months ago.
Very well. Proceed with the advertisement.
It begins, to the Red-Headed League. Owing to the bequest of the late Ezekiah Hopkins, there is now another vacancy open which entitles a member of the League to a salary of £4 a week for purely nominal services. All red-headed men above the age of 21 are eligible. Sounds very odd. Fly in person on Monday at 11 o'clock to Duncan Ross at the offices of the League, 7 Pope Court, Fleet Street. Dear me, Holmes, what on earth does this all mean?
I think I promised you that this case was bizarre. Now, Mr. Wilson, if you will continue with your story.
Well, it's just about as I was telling you, Mr. Holmes. I have a small pawnbroker shop in Coburg Square. Late years, business has been bad. I used to be able to keep 2 assistants, but now I only have 1. And I don't have a job to pay him, except he's willing to come for half wages, so as to learn the business.
Obliging youth. What's his name?
Vincent Spaulding. And I couldn't want a smarter assistant, Mr. Holmes. I know he could easily earn twice what I'm able to give him. Well, as I say, if he's satisfied, who am I to be putting ideas into his head?
Your assistant seems to be as remarkable as your advertisement.
Oh, he has only one fault, Mr. Holmes. Photography.
Photography?
Yes, snapping away with his camera and then diving down into the cellar like a rabbit into its hole to develop his pictures.
An amateur photographer, huh? He is still with you, I suppose?
Oh, yes, sir. And an observant young fellow he is. He was the one that has brought this advertisement to my notice. It was just this day, 8 weeks, when he rapped on my office door with this very paper in his hand. Come in, come in.
Oh, Mr. Wilson, sir.
Oh, it's you, Vincent. What's the matter?
Well, I wish to heaven, Mr. Wilson, that I was a red-headed man.
Why?
Well, look here, sir. What it says in this paper. There's another vacancy in the League of the Red-Headed Men. It's worth a pretty penny to him that gets it.
A red-headed league? Never heard of it.
Never heard of the League of the Red-Headed Men?
No.
Oh, Mr. Wilson, and you eligible for one of the vacancies.
Huh? What are they worth?
Oh, merely a couple of hundred a year, but the work's slight, and it needn't interfere much with one's regular occupation.
Couple of £100 a year, huh? Let me see that paper, young man.
Yes, here you are, sir. As far as I can make out, the League was started by a millionaire named Ezekiah Hopkins, a red-headed man himself. He left his fortune in hands of trustees with instructions to provide easy berths to men who had red hair. From what I hear, the work isn't difficult.
Oh, there must be millions of red-headed men.
Oh, not as many as you might think, sir. You see, it's confined to Londoners.
Oh.
And then again, it's no use if your hair is light red or dark red or anything but real blazing fire red. They've got to pick the reddest hair they can find.
Well, if there's a redder head of hair than mine in the length and breadth of London, I'd like to see it.
Well, I have seen a few that I considered redder.
Oh, nonsense. Well, where's Matt?
What are you going to do, Mr.
I'm
Wilson?
going around to apply for that vacancy. If it's raining gold, no one can say that Jabez Wilson is the man to go out with a sieve.
And did you get the job, Mr. Wilson?
I did that, Mr. Holmes. There wasn't a head of hair could touch mine for redness, if I do say so myself. And there was thousands competing.
And what was the work?
Oh, purely nominal, like the paper said. And it paid £4 a week, regular as a clock. All I had to do was sit at a desk in an office at that address there from 10 to 2 and copy out bits from the encyclopedia.
Educational as well as remunerative. And how long did this work continue?
About 8 weeks. I was pretty well through the A's. Abbots, archery, architecture, and the like. Then, suddenly, it come to an end. I went to my work 10 o'clock as usual. The door was shut and locked, and a card was nailed to the door.
What did it say?
Red-Headed League dissolved October 9, 1890.
Well, I say, Holmes, that's today.
Well, it was this very morning it was, sir. Well, I lost no time trying to find the man that hired me. £4 a week is £4.
You say you tried to find the man that rented the office?
Yes, sir. I inquired from the house agent, and he gave me the man's name and said he'd moved to a new address.
You went there, of course.
Yes, sir.
Well?
When I got to that address, it was a manufactory of artificial kneecaps. No one had ever heard of the Red-Headed League.
So then you came straight to me?
Yes, sir. I thought it best to lose no time.
Quite right. By the by, Mr. Wilson, this assistant of yours, Mr. Vincent Spaulding, how long had he been with you when he called your attention to the Red-Headed League?
About a month.
How did he come?
In answer to an advertisement.
Was he the only applicant?
No, sir. I had a dozen.
Why did you pick him?
Because he was handy and would come cheap. At half wages, in fact.
What is he like?
Small, stout built, very quick in his ways. No hair on his face, though he's not short of 30. And he had a white splash of acid on his forehead.
I thought as much. Have you ever noticed that his ears are pierced for earrings?
Oh, yes. He says a gypsy did it for him when he was a lad.
Watson, what day of the week is it?
Saturday, of course.
Saturday, dear me, so it is. Well, Mr. Wilson, I think I may promise you some startling developments by tonight. In the meantime, Watson, I suggest we drop round sometime this afternoon to view the attractions of Saxe-Coburg Square, and Mr. Wilson's exemplary assistant in particular.
Certainly, my dear fellow.
Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. I'll be expecting you. Goodbye, gentlemen.
And now, Watson, if you'll hand me my violin, I have some thinking to do.
Can't you think without that? Oh, all right. There you are. Well, here we are, Holmes. This seems to be Saxe-Coburg Square.
shabby, genteel little backwater of a place. And this, I fancy, is our friend's shop, the 4-story building with the 3 gilt balls over the door. Yes. Well, the square itself seems fairly uninteresting, huh?
Yeah, very depressing.
Let's see what street backs onto it on this side. Come along, Watson.
Well, I can't see what difference the next street can make to our problem. If it is a problem. The whole thing sounds more like a practical joke to me.
A practical joke which cost its perpetrator £4 a week? Nonsense, Watson. No man's sense of humor resides in his pocketbook.
Well, this street seems to have more life.
It's one of the chief arteries leading to the north and west. Now, let me see. What is the order of the houses here?
Order?
Yes, it's a hobby of mine to have an exact knowledge of London. First we have Mortimer's, then the tobacconist's, a little newspaper shop, the Coburg branch of the City and Suburban Bank, the vegetarian restaurant, and McFarlane's carriage building yard. Yes. Now we can go back to the shop of our friend, Mr. Wilson.
What's the hurry, Holmes? Don't walk so fast.
Well, I found out all I want to hear.
Well, Holmes, you behave as if you were taking a memory course. Why should you want to know all the shops on that street? Just a waste of time.
Nothing that exercises the brain is a waste of time, my dear Watson. The trouble with most of us is that our brains have become flabby from lack of proper use.
Rubbish. Well, here we are back again.
Quite.
Why are you thumping on the pavement with your stick? Huh? You want to enter the shop? Why not knock on the door?
Oh, quite so, Watson. I'm afraid my etiquette is a bit faulty lately. So, just to please you, I will knock on the door.
Somebody's coming. I can see him through the glass.
Looks like our bright little assistant.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Won't you step in?
Thank you, no. I only wish to ask you how to get from here to the Strand.
3rd right, 4th left.
Smart fellow, that. Eh, Watson?
I see no signs of a colossal intelligence.
Nevertheless, he is, in my judgment, the 4th smartest mind in London. And for daring, I'm not sure that he's not the 3rd.
I see nothing so startling about him.
The knees of his trousers, Watson. Didn't you notice?
The knees of his trousers? What about him?
Most enlightening, my dear Watson. Most enlightening.
Oh, this is so much balderdash. I've had just about enough of it. I'm going to get myself some tea and a muffin. There's an appetizing little baker shop across the road there.
Very good, Watson. Suppose you meet me back here at 10 tonight. Sharp, mind you. And kindly put your army revolver in your pocket.
What?
This business is serious. More serious even than I expected.
In just a moment, we'll rejoin Sherlock Holmes as he endeavors to solve the strange case of the Red-Headed League. Leading hair specialists in this country constantly advise us to take better care of the hair we've got. And men, don't forget that if you want your hair handsome and healthy looking, one of the first requirements is a hygienic scalp. And why settle for just any hairdressing when you can enjoy the extra advantages of Kreml hair tonic? Kreml is a highly specialized hair tonic which gives you your money's worth. It contains a unique combination of hair grooming ingredients which is found in no other hair preparation. It keeps hair attractively groomed at all times, looking so neat and orderly. But Kreml does lots more than keep hair looking handsome. A Kreml massage stimulates circulation right in the surface of your scalp and leaves your scalp feeling so alive and invigorated. At the same time, Kreml removes dandruff flakes, and it's excellent to lubricate a dry scalp. And if your hair is so dry that it breaks off and falls when you comb it, Kreml actually helps condition the hair, in that it makes it feel softer and more pliable. So men, take better care of the hair you've got. Buy a bottle of Kreml at any drug counter. Ask for an application at your barber shop. Use Kreml daily for better groomed hair for a more hygienic scalp. Kreml, Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, you were going to meet Sherlock Holmes that night in Saxe-Coburg Square.
Yes, Mr. Bell. Our rendezvous took place right on the dot. I remember the hour was striking. I say, Holmes, it's 10 o'clock now. How long do we have to stand here in this confounded rain? I'm soaked to the skin.
Until the other member of our party turns up, Watson. Ah, here comes a cab. I think you'll be in it.
Whoa!
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Merriweather.
Good evening, Holmes.
Yeah.
I say, Holmes, why have you got to rout me out on a night like this? Saturday night, too. I shall miss my rubber of whist.
It's the first Saturday night for 27 years that I've not had my whist.
My dear Merriweather, I think you'll find that tonight you're playing for higher stakes than even you are accustomed to. And I can promise the play will be more exciting.
Oh, indeed.
By the way, this is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do? How do you do?
But come, we must hurry. This way, gentlemen.
Where are we going? Wilson's shop is here on the square.
Oh, stop burbling, Watson.
Oh, wasn't burbling, Watson.
Follow me and don't waste time.
In your message to me, Holmes, you said something about John Clay, the murderer, thief, smasher, and forger.
John Clay? Who's he?
My dear Watson, John Clay is one of our most colorful and dangerous criminals. A young man, but at the head of his profession. I'd rather have the braces on him than on any criminal in London.
I've heard that his grandfather was a royal duke, and he himself has been to Eton and Oxford.
He'll crack a crib in Scotland one week and be raising money to build an orphanage in Cornwall the next.
We've been after him for years, Holmes, and haven't set eyes on him yet.
Well, I trust I may have the pleasure of introducing you tonight. Here we are, down this narrow passageway. You'd better let me go first.
Look here, Holmes. I don't like the look of all this. This passage goes underground. Gives me the creeps. I say, let's run into something.
The wall, I fancy. I forgot to warn you. There's a turn here to the right.
Yes, I found that out. Thanks very much.
Ah, here's the door. Just a moment till I light my dark lantern. There. Now, Mr. Merriweather, if you will unlock the door for us.
Just a moment till I find my key. Here we are.
Better let me go first, sir, in case we're too late. Ah, yes, the coast seems clear enough. Come along, both of you.
Holmes, as I said, I don't like the look of this place. Your lantern throws such weird shadows. Smells like a vault.
It is a vault, my dear Watson. The basement of the City and Suburban Bank, to be exact, of which our friend, Mr. Merriweather here, is managing director.
Well, what are all those wooden crates doing here?
They explain why the most daring criminal in London is taking such an interest in this particular place.
Yes, Dr. Watson. These crates contain our French gold.
French gold?
Quite. Well, you see, we had occasion some months ago to borrow 30,000 Napoleons from France.
From France? Good gracious me.
Most of which has never been unpacked.
Rather an inducement for any thief.
Oh, really, Holmes, I think you're rather unduly excited. The building is guarded by 10 burly watchmen.
Yes, I dare say you're not particularly vulnerable from above.
Nor from below, Holmes. Nothing but solid earth below these flagstones. Listen to this.
Don't do that. You want to ruin all our plans?
But look here, I say it did sound hollow, you know.
Not so loud, please. Now then, I think we'd better take up our positions. You, Merriweather, behind those large boxes in the corner. Watson and I will hide behind this crate. I hope you appreciate the honor, my dear fellow. This crate contains no less than 2,000 Napoleons, neatly packed in tinfoil.
Good heavens.
Ready? We must put the screen over my dark lantern.
And sit here in the dark?
Certainly.
Oh, dear, and I brought along a pack of cards. I thought we might have time for a three-handed rubber.
Not tonight, Mr. Merriweather. We are dealing with a dangerous man, and unless we can take him at a disadvantage, he may do us considerable harm. One thing more. When I flash my light, close in swiftly. And if he reaches for a weapon, shoot. And shoot to kill.
Dear me, I wish I'd stayed at home.
Quite. I'm going to cover the light.
I say, Holmes, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm beginning to imagine all sorts of horrors. Sitting here in the dark like this.
Really, Merriweather?
Holmes, do you hear that? Look. There in the middle of the floor. A slit of light. Somebody's raising one of the stone slabs. Look, there's a hand.
Catch his hand before he can pull himself through the opening.
Right you are.
Quick, Watson. Look out, he's got a knife. Take your hands off. No, you don't.
Oh, well done, Holmes. Well done. You've knocked him out.
Good. Drag him up here.
Right you are. There.
Now, Mr. Merriweather, if you'll give us some light. That's better.
But I say, Holmes, it's Vincent Spaulding, Wilson's assistant.
Spaulding rubbish. This is John Clay, one of the most dangerous criminals in London. I've been after him for years. Help me search him, Watson.
Look out, Holmes. Look out. He's coming too.
Take your filthy hands off me, you scarecrow.
No, none of that now.
You may not be aware that I have royal blood in my veins.
Oh, lunatic.
And when you address me, have the goodness to say sir and please.
Oh, very well. Would you please, sir, march yourself upstairs where we can hand you over to the policemen who are anxiously awaiting your Highness's arrival? And be quick about it. Better have another spot of whiskey, Watson.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Jervis. Feels good to get into dry clothes again after spending hours in that cold cellar. I say, not so much soda, Holmes. Do you want to drown it?
Oh, God bless you, my dear fellow.
Oh, thanks. I say, Holmes, when did you first begin to suspect that fellow Spaulding, I mean Clay?
When Mr. Wilson told me he was anxious to work for half price. Always suspect anyone or anything that comes too cheap. There's sure to be a motive behind
But
it.
how did you guess what the motive was in this case, I mean?
I suspected his fondness for photography and his trick of vanishing into the cellar. The cellar. There was the end of this tangled clue. And why was someone so anxious to have our friend Mr. Wilson kept out of his shop for several hours every day? Activities in the cellar again. By the way, that Red-Headed League hoax is one of the cleverest dodges I've come across for some time. Too clever, in fact. When I heard of it, I knew there was only one man who could have originated it, John Clay. We've had our skirmishes, but this is the first time we've come face to face.
So you went round to have a look at the shop?
At his trousers, Watson.
Trousers?
At the knees of his trousers, to be exact. You saw how worn and wrinkled they were? They spoke of hours of burrowing in the cellar. But what for? By tapping on the pavement, I found that the tunnel did not stretch out to the front. Where, then? We strolled round the corner, you remember, and there stood the City and Suburban Bank, abutting on our friend's pawn shop.
Yes, of course.
The inference was clear.
Yes, I see that, but how did you guess that he'd make his attempt tonight?
Perfectly simple, Watson. Perfectly simple. The offices of the Red-Headed League closed this morning. Mr. Wilson's absence was no longer necessary. The tunnel was completed, but it was essential that Mr. Clay should use it soon or it might be discovered. Tonight being Saturday would be ideal, as it would give him 2 days for escape. QED.
Holmes, your reasoning is perfect. A long chain, and yet every link rings true.
Well, it saves me from ennui. These little problems help me to escape the commonplaces of existence. Yes, after all, l'homme sait rien, l'œuvre sait tout, as Flaubert once wrote to George Sand.
Fascinating story, Dr. Watson. What a thrilling time you must have had during the days you lived with Sherlock Holmes.
Well, I can't say that I was ever bored.
I should think not. Ladies, how often you've heard it said that a woman's hair is her crowning glory. And how true this is. That's why you ladies should take the very best care of your hair, especially in shampooing.
I'm glad you brought that point up, Mr. Bell, because many popular shampoos have a tendency to dry the hair.
Well, here's one shampoo that will never dry the hair, never under any circumstances. And it's Kreml shampoo.
Yes, Kreml shampoo is simply wonderful. It actually glamour bathes each tiny strand of hair so that it fairly radiates natural dazzling highlights. It leaves the hair simply gleaming with natural glossy luster. And what's more, your hair stays this way for days.
Kreml shampoo is not a soapless shampoo. It's not a cream shampoo. It's not a caustic soap. It's not a drying detergent. It's entirely different.
Kreml shampoo whips up a luxurious active foam even in the hardest water. You can use it as often as you wish over a long period of time, and it'll never dry your hair. In fact, Kreml shampoo has a built-in oil base which actually helps keep the hair from becoming dry or brittle.
Remember, ladies, that divinely beautiful Powers models wash their hair with Kreml shampoo. They claim no other shampoo leaves their hair more shining bright, yet never dries the hair. Why not try it? Kreml, Kreml shampoo. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, now let me think. Well, Mr. Bell, one of the favorite fictional problems of your modern mystery writer is the so-called locked room story.
Yes, I know him. Somebody gets murdered in a sealed room, locked from the inside, and the detective has an awful time finding out how it was done.
Quite correct, Mr. Bell, quite correct. And next week, I'm going to tell you how, just 10 years before the turn of the century, Holmes actually encountered such a problem and solved it. I call the story Murder in the Locked Room.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure was adapted from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Red-Headed Leaf. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of Universal International Pictures. Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. The Sherlock Holmes series is produced by Tom McKnight, with original music composed and conducted by Alex Steinert. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, inviting you to be with us next week at this same time when Dr. Watson will tell us about Murder in the Locked Room. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Welcome back. You know, I like this portrayal, and particularly the characterization of Jabez Wilson. It really brings home, I think, the psychological cleverness of John Clay, who seems to be kind of a forerunner of Moriarty. I mean, I could imagine that if Jabez Stone lived in modern times, he'd be the type to be taken in by the Nigerian email scam. And of course, this episode's not the first time that Sherlock Holmes has commented on the perils of describing how he knows what he knows about a particular case or individual. If he doesn't tell us, and he's just told us everything about ourselves, we might think he's got special powers, which could have advantages at times. But when it's neatly explained, it seems to have the effect of people going, well, that was obvious. To Holmes, yes, but few people other than Holmes have the discipline to pick up all those pieces and form a correct image of what's going on. All right, well, we have a couple quick comments off of Podcast Alleys. You guys are the best. I listen almost every day when I take my daily walk. Keep up the good work, from John G. Hey, Adam, here's my vote. You're still doing a great job. I'm still as impressed as ever, says John Castle. And then just a simple love it from Greg Russ. Well, thank you for your kind comments. Appreciate all the support this month in Podcast Alleys. We continue to be in the top 10. Couple quick announcements. For those of you who have the app or the premium site, your first August app extra has been added. It features Mr. Edmund O'Brien in his earliest radio role in the play Camille. It's from 1939. And also coming up this week, on Sunday, William Gargan stars in Behind Green Lights. So some great entertainment you'll be sure to enjoy. Before we get started with today's adventure, I do want to remind you, as you make your plans for your next traveling adventure, remember the name JohnnyDollarAir.com. Whether you're flying to Chicago or New York or Los Angeles, wherever you may be heading this fall, Johnny Dollar Air allows you to save money in two ways, either by choosing from a great published fare or by naming your own price on hotels, rental cars, airline tickets, and even more. So when you're making a travel plan, remember JohnnyDollarAir.com first. And now it's time for today's episode, The Millard Ward Matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Edmund O'Brien as
Johnny Dollar.
This is Willis Dunhill, Mr. Dollar. I took Marvin Shields' place at the Plymouth Life Insurance Company.
Oh, yes, I read about that in the journal, Mr. Dunhill. I'm glad to hear from you.
Thank you. I'm told you've done a lot of work for the company.
Yes, I've handled a few things.
I have an assignment for you now, if you're available.
I have an appointment at 10, but I'll be free by noon, if that's all right. What's the case?
Well, a policyholder, Millard Ward, was stabbed to death. He was a bosun on a ship, and according to the cable, the crewman who killed him is being held. His name is Louis Radnick.
Sounds open and shut, Mr. Dunhill. Is there an insurance angle?
Possibly, yes. Something about Radnick and the dead man's wife. The ship is due in New Orleans tomorrow afternoon, and we'd like you to go down and look it over.
Edmund O'Brien in a transcribed adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, Plymouth Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an account of expenditures during my investigation of the Millard Ward matter. Expense account item 1, $118.40 airfare and incidentals between Hartford and New Orleans. When I got there, the newspapers were bannering the expected arrival of what they called a death ship. And at 4 that afternoon, I was standing with 2 homicide men on the edge of a crowd of the curious when a squat freighter nosed into the Harmony Street wharf and was moored. A single crew gangway was put over the side, and the homicide men and I went aboard.
I'm Lieutenant Tracy, New Orleans Police. You one of the officers of the ship?
Yes, sir. The captain's in his quarters. I'm the chief mate, sir. Edward Donovan.
This is Sergeant Wright. This is Mr. Dollar from Ward's Insurance Company.
How are you?
Mr. Donovan.
I guess you know how it goes. Ward's body's in the isolation room in the hospital, and Louis Radnick's in the brig.
What about the knife that was used?
We, left it where it was.
In the body?
Yes, sir. You want to talk to Radnick?
I plan on waiting until we got him ashore. What about you, Dollar?
I guess it's not important now, but I would like to see where it happened.
Sure, it's just forward here in the forepeak.
Let's take a look, then. Will you stay by the gangway, right? Wagon should be here any time. Which way is it?
Up here, sir. Ship's plenty messy, but we put the men in their quarters until this was taken off our hands.
What does Radnick have to say about it, Mr. Donovan?
Nothing. He wouldn't open his peep after it happened, and hasn't since. Hasn't said a word.
Must have said something.
Nothing that wasn't out and out evasive. Happened during my watch, 4 to 8. Ward had some men up here on this deck.
This was last Saturday morning?
Yes, sir. They were chipping and red lead and some rust, and Ward took Radnick into the forepeak to get some more paint. Radnick came out alone and fell to again without saying anything. Then when somebody asked him, he said Ward must have stayed below. It's right down here.
How long was that after Radnick came out, do you know?
About 20 minutes is as close as we could come.
When was Ward found, then?
It wasn't for about 40 minutes. You know how men are. They figured they could take it easy as long as the bosun was out of sight. The ship's carpenter finally showed up and asked where he was. He found him and reported to me. You want to go down now?
Yeah, I think we better look at him.
Well, watch the ladder. It's pretty sheer. I'll go and get some lights on.
Go ahead, Lieutenant.
Yeah, thanks.
Still a little damp in here. We were taking some seas this morning. Now this is where it happened. He was lying across here.
Mm-hmm. Where was his head?
Well, his head was right here, his feet over there. He was lying on his side, and the knife was in his chest.
Did Radnick admit that the knife was here?
It wasn't his. We stored the twine and rope down here and kept the knife handy.
Well, Radnick admitted being here with Ward, didn't he?
He didn't say it, but we all knew he was. I tell you, he didn't say anything. When I asked him, he said, he's dead, isn't he? If you think I killed him, lock me up and leave me alone. I'll talk to the police when I get ashore.
The scene of the crime, the forepeak, a small compartment in the very forward part of the ship, seemed to hold little else in the way of information. As we left, the chief mate explained that there obviously had been bad blood between Radnick and the dead bosun, and one crewman had allegedly once heard them arguing about Ward's wife. With the permission of the lieutenant, while he and a coroner arranged for the removal of the body, I went to the airless cabin that served as a brig and met the accused man. He was 23 years old.
I've been saying that I talked to the police and nobody else. I still mean it, and that goes for you.
That's your privilege, Radnick, but when you talk to the police, you'll be talking to me, too. We're working together on this thing.
I don't get it.
I told you I was hired by Ward's Insurance Company. I want to find out if his policy had anything to do with your killing him.
Who told you I killed him?
Oh, it seems to be pretty widely accepted.
Did anybody see me do anything like that?
The men knew you hated each other.
How much does that mean?
There seems to have been something between you and Ward's wife.
That's a lie.
Why should anybody lie about it?
Who said that?
I don't know who it was. One of the men who heard you and Ward arguing about her.
I'll break his neck if I find out who. It's a lie.
For your sake, I hope it is. She's being pulled into questioning this afternoon. You can see that if there was something between you, it'd be better if you told us.
There wasn't anything. I hardly knew her. But for some crazy reason, Ward thought there was. I think it was because he was older, and those guys are always like that.
How well did you know her?
Well, just to talk to, have a few drinks together.
While he was out on the trip?
Yeah, while he was out.
I guess I should have figured that.
I don't care what you make it sound like. There wasn't anything wrong. He and I sailed with the company quite a while, most of the time on the same ship. Early this summer, I got sick and missed a trip. That's when I met her.
Where?
In a bar. But there wasn't ever anything between us. Ward never would believe it, but it's true.
What made Ward think you did?
I don't know. I tried to find out who was talking to him, but he'd never say.
Somebody in the bar where you say you met her?
I don't know. He'd never say.
Where's the bar?
The International, mostly. Then there was the Oakland up on Carmen.
Good. Why'd you kill him, Radnick? Self-defense?
I didn't kill him. Everybody thinks I did, but I didn't.
How did he die, then?
I don't know. When I left him, he was still alive. I brought a bucket of lead and went back on deck with the rest of the guys. I didn't hear that he was dead until everybody did.
That's your story.
It's no story. I don't have to make up a story. All I have to do is tell the truth, and that's it.
If it is, you'd be better off to lie and claim self-defense. Nobody's going to buy it the way it stands now. I heard him repeat his statement a few minutes later to a blank-faced Lieutenant Tracy. And when the prisoner had been started on his way to police headquarters, we did what checking we could through the crew. Everyone agreed that the two men openly hated each other. Radnick had always been given the dirty or dangerous work. There had been muttered threats from both. It was a situation, they explained, that would naturally grow out of all proportion aboard a ship, and there was no escape from facing one another every day. We left the ship for Lieutenant Tracy's office, and there met the widow, a teen girl, obviously a northerner in her early 20s, with too much arch penciled into her eyebrows, too much red on her mouth, but hardly enough emotion showing to fit the circumstances.
Sit down, Miss Ward.
Sure. Thanks.
Here's a chair.
Oh, thank you. I want to tell you something before we get any further. Louis Radnick didn't kill him.
Everything we've learned so far says just the opposite of that, Mrs. Ward.
I don't care. Louis didn't kill him.
What makes you so sure of that, Mrs. Ward?
Because he didn't have any reason to. I know my husband thought there was something going on between Louis and me. He knocked me around enough trying to get me to say so. But there wasn't nothing. We weren't any more than good friends.
We understood that you saw quite a bit of him while your husband was away.
I didn't see quite a bit of him at all. Once in a while, I'd go crazy in that crummy room where I live, and I'd leave. Go have a drink at the International or the Oakland. And a few times I ran into Louis and talked to him. It never went any further than that. We never even left together.
Don't you have any other friends?
Not many. I don't seem to get along with the people down here. But Louis is different.
You don't like New Orleans?
Not from the minute I got off the train from New York.
Louis Radnick's from up north, too, isn't he?
That's right. Chicago.
Why'd you stay here if you hated it that way?
Oh, I don't know. I was always going to leave just for a visit anyway. But I never did.
And I suppose you're figuring on leaving now, huh?
Yeah, I think I will.
With your husband dead, there's no more reason for you to stay in a town you hate, huh?
If you think you can make anything out of that, go ahead and try. You can't.
Well, you'll have to admit it looks pretty bad.
I don't care how it looks. You can't make anything out of it. You're a cop, so you got to push people around and pry. Well, I'll save you the trouble. I was sick and tired of being married to that fat slob. I hated him.
Why didn't you leave him?
It wouldn't have lasted much longer.
But this way, you might get some insurance money. Did you tell Louis Radnick how you felt?
We never talked about my husband. We talked about New York and things like that. Louis didn't kill him. He didn't have any reason to.
Okay, Miss Ward, unless Mr. Dollar has something more, you can go.
I can leave?
Sure, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh. Can I see Louis?
He's not seeing anybody but a lawyer right now. There'll be a coroner's inquest tomorrow morning. I think it'd be a good idea if you come to that.
Yeah? Where do I go and what time?
Sergeant outside will tell you. Thank you for coming down. Please accept our sympathy in your grief.
You're sweet. Both of you.
What do you suppose that pitch was for?
I thought maybe she's trying to clear herself of any part of it, if she and the boy did plan it. If he admits it, she can just keep on saying what she told us.
Well, I think I'll check the two bars that she mentioned. She said they never left together. I'd like to know if that holds up, wouldn't you? I I talked to the bartenders and quite a few of the patrons at the International in the Oakland, both that afternoon and again that evening. I ran into 3 people who remembered Mrs. Ward and Radnick being together, and one, a waiter, was quite definite in saying he had seen them leave separately, but never together. On one hand, it did nothing to clear Radnick, but on the other, it made it look like any premeditated motive was going to be hard to prove. Tenants at the Ward's rooming house didn't help either. None of them remembered ever seeing a man of Radnick's description in the building. That's the way it stood at 10 the next morning when the coroner's inquest got underway.
Mr. Herbert Massey, please.
Right here.
Will you stand up, please, Mr. Massey?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Massey, you're employed as a ship's carpenter on the same ship Millard Ward worked on?
Yes, sir. I've been on it 4 years now.
Is it true that you discovered his body?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell the jury in your own words how that happened?
Yes, sir. I knew that Ward had some men doing maintenance work on the foredeck, and I wanted to borrow 2 to help me for a minute with some work I was doing. The men told me he was in the forepeak, so I went up.
Mr. Massey, who told you Ward was in the forepeak?
All of them, I think.
Did Louis Radnick say so?
I think he did. Well, anyhow, I remember somebody said he went in the forepeak with Radnick and must have fell asleep. It was Carl Nixon, I think.
All right, and then what happened?
But then I went up and found him. He was lying there with a knife sticking in him.
Was he moving?
No, sir. He was dead.
Then what did you do?
I felt for his pulse, and then I came back up on the deck and reported to the chief officer, Mr. Donovan.
Did you say anything to the men?
No, sir. I went down the other side of the deck and onto the bridge deck. Officer Donovan reported to me.
After the testimony of the ship's carpenter, a little more was heard from a few of the crewmen. None of it seemed to change the picture, but the reports from the autopsy surgeon, together with the one from the police laboratory, did. A, the knife had entered Ward's body at such an angle that the fatal wound could have been self-inflicted. B, there were no fingerprints on the handle of the murder weapon. C, Ward was wearing leather gloves when he died. And finally, the possibility of suicide was strengthened by the fact that there were bloodstains on the right glove. Everything was still indefinite, but I wondered how Radnick would react to the news. And after the inquest, I went to his cell to find out.
Still trying to save the insurance company some money?
I do when I can. I just came from the inquest, Radnick.
I understand I could have saved the taxpayers some money on that.
How come?
They don't have an inquest when there's a confession, do they?
What confession, Radnick?
I killed him. That's what everybody wants to hear, isn't it?
Wait a minute. What brought this?
I killed him because he was trying to kill me. And that's going to be my plea. I killed him in self-defense. What's the matter? Don't you like that story either?
We will return you to yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment. Vaughn Monroe's back from vacation. Yes, on most of these same CBS radio stations, you can again make the Vaughn Monroe Show a singing, dancing date every Saturday night. Vaughn, the Moon Maids, the Moon Men, and Ziggy Talent, plus singing guests will be very truly yours just a little later this evening on CBS Radio. Don't miss them. And now with our star, Edmund O'Brien, we bring you the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
The men of the crew said we hated each other. You can ask him how that crazy guy was riding me all the time and giving me all the dirt aboard.
Wait a minute, Radnick.
I was a guy on the outboard side when we were painting davits. He was trying to kill me then, waiting for me to fall over the side.
Radnick.
Well, I didn't. So he got me in the forepeak and tried to brain me. So I stuck a knife in him. It was off his head, and I had to keep him from killing me.
Are you through?
That's all there was to it.
Why didn't you tell us this in the first place?
Because I didn't want to.
What made you change your mind?
I got sick of lying.
Have you hired a lawyer?
I got a right to, haven't I?
He counted all the evidence against you, figured in the fact that there wasn't an eyewitness, and decided to play it this way.
Why not? Everybody knows I killed him, don't they?
We want to be sure why.
I told you, self-defense.
What did he try to hit you with?
Took a swing at me with his fist. Then he picked up a can of paint.
Did he swing that at you?
Yeah, he started to. Then I backed up and got the knife. Then when he swung again, I figured there was only one way to stop him, and that's what I did. Did you try to get away?
He was between me and the ladder.
Didn't you yell or anything?
I didn't have time to think of anything like that. He'd gone off his head.
Over you and his wife?
Over nothing except what was going through that crazy mind of his. There wasn't anything else, nothing between her and me. But he tried to kill me, so I had to kill him to save my life.
Who's your lawyer, Radney?
His name's Waterman.
Where'd you get him?
He does a lot of work for the union.
You should have stuck to business problems.
What do you mean by that?
I don't think you'll get to first base with the plea.
Well, that's what happened.
Sure. It's happened before when there weren't any witnesses. But this time we're too close to a motive. I think a jury will fill in what we don't have.
I guess that's a chance you got to take.
I guess so. I'll see you later. That can of paint he was swinging. What did he do with it when you stabbed him?
He dropped it, I guess. I wasn't noticing things like that.
Okay, I just wondered. I want to be able to give Ward's wife all the details of your new story.
She had nothing to do with it. He was crazy, that's all.
He's not alone. Any sane man would have admitted a self-defense killing like you described right after it happened. And you shouldn't have wiped off the knife.
I didn't wipe it.
What was that?
I said all I'm going to say. Now leave me alone.
Sure. You better work on that story. And I don't think a new lawyer would hurt.
I don't care how full of holes it is, we've got to find more than we have now.
I know that.
If that boy's guilty, I want to hand in some evidence that says so and nothing else.
You better go back to the ship.
Yeah, I think so, too. Go over the scene of the killing again.
Seems to me we ought to be able to settle that can of paint he says Ward was swinging at him. One way or another, that would help.
Where's that ship's carpenter? You suppose he went back aboard?
I hope so. If he discovered the body, he ought to be able to fill in some details.
That's right. You know, what's his name, Massey?
Herbert Massey. Probably the same thing going through your mind. That the last person we think saw Ward alive isn't too far separated from the one that says he's the first person that saw him dead.
You aren't thinking that boy is innocent?
Not necessarily. How about you?
If he was, and with everything stacked up against him the way it is, that lawyer could have figured it was safer to have him take a self-defense plea.
I think we better go back to the ship, don't you? This must be it.
Yeah, come in.
Hello, Mr. Massey. You remember me, Lieutenant Tracy?
Oh, sure, from this morning at the inquest.
That's right. This is Mr. Dollar, insurance investigator.
Hello.
How are you, Mr. Massey?
We came back to talk to you, Mr. Massey, because we still don't have enough evidence to make a decent charge of murder against Radney.
Why, sure, I'll do anything I can to help, but please, sit down, why don't you?
Yeah, thank you.
You know, all I can say is what I saw. I found Ward, that's all.
Sure, we know that.
But you did know that they didn't get along too well, didn't you?
Well, I heard more about that after it happened than I heard before. I got my own work to do aboard. I don't work much with the crew. Afterwards, I heard them talking about it.
Mr. Massey, how clearly do you remember things the morning you found Ward dead?
I don't know what you mean.
Do you remember exactly what you saw and what you did?
Well, sure, I think so.
You sure he was dead?
Sure, I told you that. I felt for his pulse.
What made you do that?
I don't know. I guess I just remembered that's the way to tell.
Where did you feel for it?
In his throat.
You remember that, huh?
Yeah, sure I do. When I saw him lying there, I called his name first, and then when I saw the knife, I leaned over him and saw his eyes open. Then I felt for his pulse.
How long did all this take, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. Not very long. I came up on deck right away. What's so important about that?
We just want to get everything straight.
What can you remember about the forepeak, Mr. Massey? Was everything in order?
Everything in order? I don't quite know what you mean.
Well, do you remember anything unusual, anything out of place?
No, I didn't notice anything. Why do you ask me that?
It's important. Do you remember a can of paint rolling around on the deck?
Can of paint? What's a can of paint got to do with it?
Do you remember seeing one?
No. What would I be doing looking for a can of paint at a time like that?
When you saw he was dead, weren't you startled and didn't you look around? I would have.
No, all I thought was going to the old man or the mate and telling him. Say, why are you asking me this kind of question?
We told you we don't have enough evidence against Radnick, and we thought you could help us.
We've got to be sure he killed Ward.
Why, sure he did.
How do you know that?
Oh, everybody knows it, all the men.
Well, nobody saw him do it.
Everybody knows there was trouble between them, don't they?
Yeah.
Everybody knows they went after paint together and Ward didn't come out.
And then you went in, and when you come out, that's when it turned out that Ward was dead.
Yeah, sure, that's right.
And you didn't notice any signs of a struggle?
No, I didn't notice anything but Ward.
Well, I'll tell you the way it stands. Radnick said he didn't kill him.
Well, then he must be lying.
Well, that's what we thought, too. Everything that anybody said made it look like he was lying.
Why, sure he is.
But then he changed his story. Then he said Ward had tried to kill him and that he stabbed him in self-defense. He said Ward picked up a heavy can of paint, tried to brain him.
I don't know what happened.
Well, a fight like that would have been heard and there would have been things knocked around. But you say you didn't notice anything and the men say they didn't hear anything.
I don't know anything about that. I was on the afterdeck, so I didn't hear anything. And I didn't notice anything because I just didn't look around.
We don't think there was a fight. We think either Radnick just stuck him or that somebody else killed him.
Everybody knows Radnick did it.
It could be that everybody just thinks he did.
Everybody knew there was trouble between them. It was shaping up, so when you found Ward dead, naturally everybody thought Radnick did it.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody did.
You came out and told the mates you found Ward's body, and then everybody just naturally figured that Radnick had killed him.
Yeah, that's right.
But what if he didn't, Massey?
I don't know what you mean.
If Radnick didn't kill him, who did?
We just want to get it straight. If Radnick didn't kill him, who did?
I don't know.
Who else was in the forepeak?
I was. That's what you mean, isn't it? I was in there. I found Ward in there. What you mean is you think if Radnick didn't kill him, I did. Isn't that right?
Somebody killed him.
I found him there. I tell you, he was dead when I found him. That's all I can say. It's all I know.
Okay, Massey. You weren't planning on going anyplace, were you?
Now, you can't arrest me. I didn't do anything.
We just don't want you to leave town. We want to talk to you again if we can't build anything better against Radnick.
The lieutenant put some men checking Massey's background for a motive in case we needed it, and it looked like we might. And then we went back to Lieutenant Tracy's office and looked at one another. Our circumstantial evidence was one thing, but we had nothing in the way of actual evidence. The information on Massey came in, and it was incomplete and worthless. More came in on the association between Radnick and Mrs. Ward. All it did was make us wonder whether they were innocent or smart. There was such a complete lack of anything to put our fingers on that we decided on some pressure tactics to eliminate at least some of the possibilities.
You lied to us, Rodney. We want to know why you did.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why'd you give us that stuff about killing Ward? What stuff? We think you were lying.
We don't think you killed him at all.
Are you crazy?
We think it looked so bad for you that you and that lawyer decided the best thing to do was try a self-defense plea.
What are you giving me? What did you give us? You said you killed him. Everybody else said I did.
That's what we've run into, too.
What do you want, then?
The true story.
Why did you give us that self-defense pitch?
Well, it was like you said. Everything was against me. We thought it was the best way to handle things.
Did you really kill him or didn't you?
I'm not going to say any more until I talk to my lawyer.
Why not, Radnick? We said we don't think you killed him.
It's your chance. And why not talk?
Because I think you got something up your sleeve.
We have.
You've got more than you ever thought we'd have.
I don't care what you got. I told you what happened.
What do you think Ward's wife told us?
She had a good reason to double-cross you, Radnick. Without you, she doesn't have to split the insurance money.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She tried to make us think that she didn't have anything to do with it, and we let her. She tried to clear herself.
She thought she was saying something else, but what she really told us was that she was tired of her husband and wanted to get away from him. Then she told us you came along.
You want to see her signed statement?
What did she sign?
A paper that says she asked you not to do anything. But you said you were going to get rid of her husband.
You're lying.
I got it right here.
She's a dirty, rotten liar. If she signed anything like that, she's a dirty liar.
Yeah, but the state won't think so, and it's building a case against you.
Well, it's not true. I don't care anymore because I can see that even the lawyer was wrong. I don't have a chance, and I'm sick of lying.
Tell us about it, then.
It was her. After I met her, she asked me to do it. She said, kill him. She begged me. She She said with the money we'd get, we could leave New Orleans. Honest, I'm tired of lying, and this is the real truth. She said we'd go away together. I let him ride me the whole trip. And then when Ward and I were in the forepeak, it was only 2 days from home. I knew I had to do something, and I did it.
He didn't attack you. You just stabbed him.
I don't know what happened to me. We were there, and I knew it was my last chance. I didn't know what I was doing. I just saw a chance, and I took the knife, and I stabbed him. I wish I hadn't.
You'd planned it, though, hadn't you?
I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd never met her. I wish I'd never come to this town and met her. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know. I don't know.
Expense account item 2, miscellaneous, $183.15. Item 3, same as item 1, transportation back to Hartford. Expense account total, $419.95. Remarks? I don't think any are needed. It was a clear case of attempted insurance fraud. But if you can figure out where things like this start, what causes them, and insure against them, you'll save a lot more money than you've saved on this matter. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role and is written by Gil Dowd with music by Wilbur Hatch. Edmund O'Brien will soon be seen starring in the Paramount Pictures Technicolor production, Silver City. Featured in tonight's cast were Sidney Miller, Barton Yarborough, Bill Conrad, Hy Everback, and Gene Bates. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle.
This is Dan Coverly inviting you to join us next week at this time when Edmund O'Brien returns as
yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Welcome back. Well, we kind of went a long way with this episode only to find out everybody was right in the first place. But it was good to hear Barton Yarborough again. Of course, when doing the Dragnet show over at radiodragnet.com, heard him every week for more than 2 years. And then he passed away. This was about 2 months before his death. And he was in good form this episode. Got some comments here, first of all, from Jim, who says, technically, Johnny Dollar is not a detective. He is an insurance investigator. I know, same thing, right? Listen to the shows and you'll see he makes it a point to correct people about it. Great writing. Blake Edwards wrote many of the early shows. Lots of TV favorites on the show. Also John McIntyre, Parley Bear, Howard McNear, and Virginia Gregg, my favorite radio show. Well, I can appreciate the technical point. I think when Johnny Dollar raises a point about being an insurance investigator, rather than, say, a normal private operative, is kind of make the distinction that who he works for, with very, very few exceptions, is insurance companies, and he is an accredited and bonded investigator. This isn't somebody who just put up a sign and hired a blonde secretary. Of course, in our titling, we were going to be perfectly accurate, we might say. Great detectives, writers, reporters, lawyers, and priests of old-time radio. But we use detective more kind of if we were going to cover all the occupations of our actual detectives. But I really tend to look at this more as somebody who solves mysteries and who really trouble is their business, to borrow a phrase from Raymond Chandler. But thanks so much for the comment, and there's a lot of great Johnny Dollar still ahead of us. Steve writes in, I just wanted to tell you that I love the app. Thanks for developing it, and I really enjoy listening to your shows. We received a comment from Matthew who says, Adam, I have to say I listen to your podcast so much that I'm thinking of dropping my cable. My favorite podcasts are Nero Wolfe and Johnny Dollar. Keep those greats coming. The only thing wrong with your show is that you take too long in the intro. Try saying intro as Don Wilson would from the Jack Benny Show. And I went ahead and I'm not a huge fan of Jack Benny. More Bob Hope, Burns, and Alan Abbott and Costello sort. But Benny's okay. And I went ahead and I took a listen to an episode, and Don Wilson took all of 9 seconds on his intro. However, Don Wilson had a sponsor, and he also got to do ads in the middle, which was not a big hit when we tried it over here. But I appreciate your comment. Peter sends in a very nice donation, says a small donation to thank you for your wonderful Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. I particularly look forward to your comments. Well, thank you so much for your support, Peter. And as is the case with all donations over $7, we'll send him free access to our premium site. And, but looking for comments from listeners regarding the potential of looking at a more listener-supported basis, like a lot of community radio programs that do like pledge drives. I've not gotten a whole lot of feedback, but I am leaning towards giving it a try. Let me know your thoughts by August 14th, and if we do this, it will run most likely August 22nd to September 2nd. And then we'll see how it goes. Finally, we have a comment on Podcast Ollie. As always, the best. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate all your comments and support. We will be back on Monday with Barrie Craig, Confidential Investigator. And join us next Friday for another adventure of Edmund O'Brien as yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Remember to send your comments to box13 at greatdetectives.net. Give us a call, 208-991-4783. And follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. But from Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off. Have a great weekend.